they gave it to Obama too.
Zyrax, what is up, my sister? What is up? Thank you. Thank you for being here. I hope your New Year's will be going great. Do anything special for the New Year's? Guys, thank you for being here. You guys are amazing, right? You guys are amazing. I love you guys. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Happy New Year's to you. What kind of Asian are you? Right? I would love to know. Please tell me, what kind of Asian are you? I would love to know. Thank you for being here. Instead of spending a quiet time with your husband, you're here with me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Chinese. Okay, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. That is very cool. I love it. All right. So, hopefully we will have a interesting night, right? Have some back and forth. If anyone wants to join, I have pinned the link to the chat. All right, if you guys anyone want to join. But before we start, I want to say this, okay? I don't know how long tonight's live will go. Will we go into the New Year's or not? I don't know. We'll see how things go. We'll probably just get close, or to the usual time, depending on if everyone's busy or not, So I don't mind. But like I said, before we get started, I want to say this. Another year of everyone supporting me, okay? Being there, supporting my work. I can't express enough humble thankfulness, right? Like I said, I've said this countless times before. I'm not doing this to become big or anything. This is for a pastime. This is for fun. This is to get to know people, right? To create a community of just of cool people where we could talk to each other, hang out for a few hours, So support each other, okay? find common ground or agree to disagree. Just have a nice community, right? And thank you for joining the community, right? Thank you for being there. Thank you for being a part of this community. So I can't express enough how much I appreciate everyone. Okay. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys a lot. So that's, yeah, definitely. Zyrax, my sister, you are so amazing. You are amazing. Thank you for the love. Thank you for, and you know what? Another thing I'm thankful for, okay, is meeting amazing people. Whether we agree or not, it doesn't matter, right? But we can show that we can be respectful and talk to each other, have interesting and good conversations with each other. So I'm very thankful for being able to meet like someone as amazing as you, Cyrax, right? You are amazing. So thank you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the dono, but just thank you for being here, right? You could be doing better things, right? You could be doing other things, but you decide to, waste your time with me. So I love it. Thank you. Thank you, my sister. Okay. So there's this new video from Jubilee with Dean, right? Dean Withers, and some other people that will debate back and forth. Now, with Jubilee, I can't show the whole video, right? I can't show the video because Jubilee they're weird with that, right? Jubilee is weird with their I don't know, their videos. So what I'm gonna do is just probably have an image or whatever, right? Probably have some kind of image. All good. It's all good. All good. But let me but so like I was saying, right? Jubilee takes down they copyright strike you. So what I will do is just have some kind of a video play in the background, but the audio will be of the Jubilee video. Okay. So yeah, that would be what I would be doing. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna put this picture just for I guess reference. Yes, but like I said, the whole Jubilee, they don't allow you to react to their videos, right? Not easily. I've seen some do it, but I did it before and I got copyright strike. So I'm just going to do it this way for the audio. Okay, so please bear with me. But I think I still think it'll be fine, right? I still think it'll be fine. Okay.
Months into his presidency, they gave it to him very, very quickly because of his vibes, because they liked how he talked. I mean, this is
Your
supposed to
face?
be
Let's
a
go.
prestigious. Okay, but
You
this
like
is supposed to be a prestigious award, right?
Fully aware, but go ahead.
Oh, you're fully aware? Then what's Article 8 of the ICC?
So what you're going to
No,
say?
1 second.
What you're
If you're
gonna say,
fully
this
aware
isn't
of
a
what the law is,
trivia contest. You're what you're going to say. It doesn't really actually.
Have you ever heard of Antifa?
Have you ever?
Whiskey, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I love you, my brother. I love you. All right. You were here. I think you were here my last New Year's, and you're here this year. So much love to you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I'm Dean Withers, and I'm a progressive liberal.
My name's Oliver.
Hopefully you guys could hear. Happy New Year's. You are here. I'm trying to check if everything works. Could you guys?
Dean Withers, and I'm a...
Yeah, I think I guess you guys could. All right.
I'm somewhere on the left.
My name is Joe Bob. I'm a conservative.
My name's Savannah Hernandez, and I am America First, and you are watching Roundtable. Let's get into it.
What did the president mean when he called reporter piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room.
This is what Donald Trump posted after Rob Reiner died, after he was murdered. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured, struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome.
Trump's recent outbursts calling a journalist piggy and shamefully dishonoring Rob Reiner solidify that he has no class, dignity, or interest in unifying America.
I mean, I think there's a few points that need to be made here. I think one, the White House's defense of, we can kind of address it in two different points because I think they're kind of not totally related.
Well, there's 9 different points in that question.
Yeah. So I feel like it would probably make sense to just kind of split this up.
It's snowing your area. It snowed recently here, but it's gone now. So hopefully the snow is not crazy. Here's my thing, right? With Trump's personality, right? His first term, you understood his personality. So in my honest opinion, I'm kind of over it, right? I'm over Trump basing Trump on his personality. I will base Trump on his actions more than the crap that comes out of his mouth. Because in my honest opinion, yes, is it really some decorum when it comes to him? Not really. But we've seen that with his first term. So when it comes to his second term, why must we be surprised or expect something different? To be honest, I could care less. Trump was trying to be funny. Yeah, and Trump, to be honest, that's who Trump is. Right? He's a loudmouth, unabashed type of person. So to be honest, do I love Trump's personality? No. But in my honest opinion, I don't care, right? I care about his actions, what he will be doing as the president.
So we're talking specifically about Trump's comments towards a reporter on Air Force One. I think it's important to first note that the way the White House and Caroline Leavitt responded to this was somehow by dichotomizing transparency and abusive misogynistic language. And to me, that just seems insane. I don't really see a reason why
calling someone piggy isn't misogynistic. Okay.
Someone has to use that type of language towards a reporter in order to seem more transparent. And what's even more ironic is that Trump, in doing that, was silencing and bullying a reporter into silence and submission for asking a tough question, which could not be more anti-transparency. So I just don't see in any sort of way how that is indicative of transparency.
It also just tells us that he honestly thinks that women are pigs.
I mean, it's in line with comments that he's made before calling women pigs.
Did you know that this reporter has never put anything out past that? He's completely silenced her.
Yeah, look, I didn't like the comment either, to be quite honest with you. I didn't love it, but also I don't think that, initially, right, a lot of people are highlighting how transparent or how accessible the president is. And I do agree with that. I do think that it is nice to have a president that we have a lot of access to, even if he is off the cuff and says things that we don't agree with, and going into, well, Joe Bob, let you respond to the Piggy comment before we go into Rob Reiner, because I do not agree at all, and have already announced that he said that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're one and the same. I also was not super stoked about the Rob Reiner thing. I think both of us had said something online like, not really on this one, dude.
I have a question for you. Are you guys surprised when Trump says that he hates his opponents, like he did recently at Charlie Kirk's memorial? Are you surprised by the comments? Because to me, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. This is very in line with Trump's kind of, strongman stance if he feels he has to hate his opponents. So, are you guys surprised?
No, I'm not surprised at all, but I also feel like this is a direct result of 10 years of the media slandering him as a Nazi, a fascist, a bigot, a racist. I mean, take whatever name you want. And I do think that this is why he is so aggressive toward the media. Now, I do differentiate the Rob Reiner comments with the media comments, because I do think that Trump does hate the media, and the media has lied to the American people egregiously for a decade at this point, and has caused serious, I think, honestly, a lot of division in.
My brother, thank you for all the love and support, right? Thank you for all the love and support.
How are you doing?
I'm amazing. I'm doing great.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm drinking.
Hey,
but
cheers to you, my brother.
I didn't drink yesterday, so
moderation.
Right.
But I want to show love, right? I want to show love and support that you have been such an amazing supporter and friend throughout throughout my time.
Yeah,
so
I think you're. I like associating with good people. I think you're a good person.
Thank you, my brother.
But it's odd. My I sometimes I can't super chat because I make, I think I make big purchases up in other places. So and I call my credit. I don't know what it is. It's like my credit card says they're not blocking me. It might be PayPal that's blocking me. I don't know. It's just odd. So I made a big payment to Heritage Auctions. I think that's what happens, and then I can't make super chats.
Oh, okay.
So
that's different, weird, but yeah.
I don't know what it is. You're a good person, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Right. But it's odd that they're saying that like Trump, he's kind of just this agitator kind of guy. But they're saying that he called someone piggy or something like that.
Yeah.
But Barack Obama said it's like putting lipstick on a pig, referring to what's that woman McCain's vice president.
Really?
What was her name?
I don't remember. I don't remember her.
That governor of Alaska.
Oh yeah, governor. Oh God, I forgot her name. But I don't remember that comment. But for me, it's like to be honest, like Trump's personality is like we already know what type of person Trump is. So I don't to focus on it. I think it's kind of unimportant right now.
He's just he likes to agitate things.
He does.
I like that about him.
I do. He does. Yeah. So I don't mind that. Oh, Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
The country, which I haven't loved.
Sarah. Can I say one thing? Sarah Palin, when she was in college, they always had this photo of her when she was younger, and she always had a chest that said flat broke but not flat chested. Because she had some nice bosoms.
Okay.
Sarah Palin was pretty.
I don't know. Yeah, she's before my time.
Yeah, Sarah Palin is kind of pretty. She's still kind of pretty,
Yeah.
My commentary on this was Donald Trump just found a way to make a violent murder of a mother and father about himself, and it's shameful.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So you said that Donald Trump hates the media because the media lies to him and to the American people. Do you agree with him?
Not to him, about him.
Sorry, about him. Do you agree with his position?
about the media lying to the American people?
No, about wanting to hate the media because you think they lie to the American people.
I don't think Donald Trump is a perfect person, and I also think that this is his personality, as we saw at the Charlie Kirk
I'm
Memorial.
asking you if you agree with his personality. Do you hold the same position? Is it okay to hold disdain towards
Donald
the media
Trump is
because
not
you
me,
believe that they
so
lie?
again,
Well, that's why I'm asking you if you agree, because you're not Donald Trump, so therefore we must clarify.
well,
Out of clarification,
okay,
please answer the question. That question being,
Yeah,
what I would
do
say
you agree with Donald
is,
Trump's position?
fervently
Do you
dislike
also
people
share
like I would
disdain
fervently
towards the
dislike
media
Yeah.
for lying to the American people?
Well, okay. Can we actually go back to
After she answers that
broader-
question, please. If that's fine with you guys.
okay, I don't think that Donald Trump is a perfect person. I'm not going to denounce his personality. The reason why he was voted into office is because of his personality, because of the way that he talks. The American people don't always love it. He's not a perfect person, but simultaneously, I would rather have a president who's speaking off the cuff and a little bit ridiculous sometimes, as opposed to a president like Joe Biden, who was so fake to the media and was calling, Peter Doocy a stupid son of a bitch behind the scenes, and people fat asses behind the scenes. Like, okay, yeah, Donald Trump can sometimes be an asshole, pardon my French, but at least he's honest and transparent about it, unlike the Democratic Party who pretends to be holier than thou.
Well, I mean, I think it's great.
That is my part of my biggest gripe, right, with how the Democratic side is, because I like I said, when I was younger, I was Democrat, but I felt such huge hypocrisy when it comes to the Democratic Party, because it is exactly that, the holier than thou kind of image, right? So you put out like a more holier than thou kind of image, yet in action you see many images or many news or whatever that shows that Democrats are no better than the people they complain about, right? I mean, we recently just talked about the whole Missouri thing, okay? Or no, Minnesota thing with the Somalians and all the corruption and the fraud, stuff like that. They are no better than the people they complain about. So
Yeah, I live in Minnesota. You probably you probably know that, but my analogy of Republicans and Democrats is this: Republican will come up to your face and say, I'm gonna break your arm, right? And then do it. A Democrat will say, oh, I would never break your arm, and then they'll sneak around. They'll wait till you're sleeping, and then they'll sneak up behind you and then break your arm.
no, I've said this. Yes, exactly. I said this before, where I felt like a Republican will stab you in the stomach, but a Democrat will stab you in the back. I'd rather face my enemies
Right.
than have someone that is fake
Correct.
stab you in the back.
Yep.
So
Easy to call somebody who told over 30,000 confirmed lies in the first year alone, and told the largest lie out of any sitting president.
The statistics
If you'll
on that.
allow me to, I allowed her to speak. I'd appreciate if you guys would allow me the same opportunity. Who told over 30,000 confirmed lies in his first term alone, alongside the largest lie ever told by any president in American history, with his continued denial of the outcome of the 2020 election. Now, you never directly answered the question that I asked you. That question was, do you share that same disdain that Trump has towards the media because you think the media
Sure,
lies to
yes, I
Americans?
do think that the American media lies to us.
yeah, I hate the American media. I'm sorry. Okay, it's no longer because why is it one of the biggest stories, right? Currently, the like I said, the whole Minnesota corruption thing. Why is a YouTuber breaking it, not the American media? And you see that with so many things. I think the American media has become so left-leaning, so they don't care about actually, breaking news. This is why they're crazy. I don't care about it.
Consistently.
And you would hold disdain towards them because of that. And see, that is precisely one of the reasons why I hold disdain towards Trump. When you can't even recognize the outcome of a free and fair election that's been litigated on by over 63 handpicked courts, including 17 judges that you appointed to those courts as being free and fair, if you have to continue to lie about that outcome, if you have to continue to justify yourself,
Dean, let's stop pretending that
followers
Donald
to
Trump
swarm
is
the
the only
Capitol on
president in
January 6th.
history who's ever challenged an election. Let's just stop that right now. I mean, the DNC themselves stole the election from Bernie Sanders and gave it to Hillary
Do you
Clinton.
like the DNC?
So let's not pretend that Donald Trump was the first president in history who challenged an election, and let's also not pretend that there weren't discrepancies, that there weren't issues with mail-in ballots. And hey, look, Dean, you and I can go back and forth for a long time, but also let's let Joe Bob talk for a bit, and then
We'll go ahead and pass the mic to Joe Bob. That's
Well,
But just 10 seconds to add on, closing comment on this specific subject.
Okay.
I can agree that there's been many contests to elections made in the past.
Mm-hmm.
A good example would be Bush and Al Gore.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I don't think I've seen ever before is a president go outside of the proper legal channels to legitimately contest the outcome of an election, such as Donald Trump did with his fake elector scheme in 2020, when he was straight up sending fake votes for himself to Congress from states that he lost and that he won. But I will go and pass the mic.
No. I feel like we're getting really off topic here, and I'm wondering if we can go back to it in kind of the binary choice between somebody who may be a little bit brash, but is also extraordinarily. You would agree that Trump is very accessible. Yes.
What do you mean by accessible? Can we define what? Like, are we just talking about like?
You walk into the White House, you can ask him a question. You don't have to be afraid.
He gaggles all the
Well,
time.
I don't know about that, considering that he banned multiple publications from attending Oval Office briefings. So I mean, I don't really know where you're.
He gaggles all the time. Like, right, he just does.
So
I mean,
is
even
accessibility?
Caitlin Collins, who is
Yes,
a part of CNN, has
accessibility.
stated that he is extremely accessible compared to Joe Biden.
Okay.
Can we agree with
Well,
that?
I think that the accessibility that we see from President Trump is very picky choosy, because if he wanted,
How?
I'll give you a great example. If somebody from a news organization that he doesn't like wants to access him, then it's a full different story. Like, take for instance.
So if they stood at the plane though, like he comes off the plane and takes questions for like 30 minutes.
Well, I wish I could continue that point. I think that he does offer accessibility in some regards. Like, for instance, Joe Biden wasn't writing on Truth Social at midnight calling for the execution of his political opponents. That is true accessibility into the dark twist and evil mind of a tyrant. We haven't seen from previous
Okay,
presidents.
let's stop with the
But
tyrant, the dictator, the authoritarian.
Well, come
because
on,
if
it's
he
true.
was,
Like, seriously, a guy who is like sending tweets isn't what people call dictators and tyrants and fascists. It's kind of ridiculous.
DA, who's the guy? Is the guy on the with blonde? Is that liberal guy?
This is the guy who's talking right now.
Yeah, so you can kind of tell.
This is the left, right, and this is the right.
Oh, okay.
This is the guy who's talking a lot right now.
Okay, you can kind of tell, can't you? I was thinking it was him.
Yeah.
you wouldn't be sitting here and you wouldn't have the freedom to call him that. Go try to do that in China. Go try to do that in North Korea with Kim Jong-un or Xi.
Well, and then also I think
Okay,
thank you
and
for
it's been
making
10 years of you guys calling him a fascist and a
I
Nazi and authoritarian, and
appreciate
it's
you.
ridiculous. So, like, this is my frustration here, and sorry to be so passionate about this, but I've been on the ground and I've reported on the ground for 10 years. I was censored for 2 years as a reporter and as a journalist. I didn't have a voice because the liberals at Twitter did not like the fact that Donald Trump retweeted me, so they made up a bullshit excuse to ban me and other subsequent people online. Do you think that was right? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, honestly, I wasn't really tracking the first part of your statement because I was focusing on a response to something that you'd said prior. But I've had multiple social media accounts banned myself.
Okay, and is that a good thing?
And
Yes or no? And is it primarily Donald Trump that's calling for the censorship of his political opposition? No, if anything,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
Elon
We'd answer
Musk
yes to
who
that.
spent $44 billion, who, by the way, is more right-leaning, to give people their voice back because we have been censored for so long. And it was the Biden administration who did censor and silence scientists and doctors during COVID-19. That was a very big issue. So, again, I think it's ridiculous for you to call Trump an authoritarian or a fascist when the fact that we're even having this conversation right now goes to show that he's not.
Okay, I mean, I want to address multiple points. One, I think it's ridiculous to claim that Trump does not try to censor or oppress his political opponents when he literally called for someone like Mahmoud Khalil to be deported from this country for his expressed pro-Palestinian speech.
Is Mahmoud Khalil an American citizen?
It doesn't matter whether
yes
you're.
or no.
It doesn't matter whether. Are you
yes
saying
or no?
No,
yes or
it
no?
doesn't matter.
Is he an American
He doesn't
citizen?
have
Yes
due
or no? And the
process
answer
rights.
is
He's
no.
not.
And
But it doesn't matter.
if you are here on a green card and you are not a
Okay.
citizen of the United States
You
of
still have
America,
due
you
process.
should be on your best behavior. And regarding the pro-Palestinian versus Israel argument, I probably do align more with the side of I don't agree with us sending billions to Israel or censoring speech for being anti-Israel. I do not agree with that in the slightest. Simultaneously, regarding Mahmoud Khalil and Donald Trump calling for him to be deported, if you are in a country and you are not the citizen of that country, you better be on your best behavior. And to be quite honest with you, we have so many people in this country who have been on their worst behavior and taking advantage.
Can I ask you something?
Sure. Sorry, I'm taking over this.
I was going to say, this
sorry
is great.
about
I don't have to
this,
say
guys.
anything. I can just sit here and defer to Savannah.
Well, there's many points that you've made that I would like to respond to. I'm not sure we'll have the time to go through them individually. But I think something very interesting that you just shared with us all is something I have to respond to.
Okay.
You just said if you're not a citizen of this country, then you need to be on your best behavior.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you hold immigrants to a higher standard than you hold the President of the United States of America? Let me be more specific with my ask here. So I find it so entirely hypocritical to suggest that maybe the removal of Mahmoud Khalil, his detention in ICE detention center for what he said and potentially shutting down a couple, I don't know, what did you say, buildings on a college campus? But then in the same breath, you'll turn around and you'll support Donald Trump in the Oval Office, the White House, to run this country, even though in 2023, he was held civilly liable for the rape of E. Jean Carroll. In 2005, he publicly boasted to Howard Stern on his radio show about sexually exploiting naked women and naked girls at Miss Teen USA and Miss USA in the 90s to the early 2000s. He sexualized a 10-year-old girl in the 90s. He's hit on his own daughter. Over 30,000 confirmed lies in his first term, which we've already talked about. You got J6. You have what he did today, shamefully dishonoring Rob and his wife that were brutally murdered last night, and many other examples. So if threatening to shut down buildings on a college campus is enough to warrant the removal of an immigrant from this country, then why isn't raping a woman enough to warrant removal from the Oval Office? Please directly answer that question.
That's probably not good.
Okay, so I would just say that you should be careful with the way that you talk about this, because ABC News just paid out a $16 million defamation lawsuit because they said that Donald Trump is a rapist, and he's not. The jury verdict themselves, they've checked no on the box that stated, did Donald Trump rape E. Jean Carroll?
Okay.
They checked no.
And this is a very important
This is on the jury verdict form from that. Okay, you're familiar, as am I. First off, my frustration as well lies in the fact that everybody hates Donald Trump so much, and they're picking apart his entire life, which is totally fair because he's the president of the United States. Simultaneously, everybody.
DA, can I interrupt here for just a second?
Yes.
So that Mohammed, that guy in New York, Mohammed Khalil, he's not an immigrant. He's a visa holder.
Yeah.
So the U.S. visa holders aren't immigrants. They're here by permission. And they do have to be on their best behavior, like that woman said.
Yeah.
If they lie on their visa application that they were or were not associated with, political parties, that's illegal, and that he can be deported. Or he could his visa can be canceled, not deported. He can just be sent back to where he's from.
I agree. I mean, this is the thing where I agree with her that you have to be on your best behavior because you are not a citizen. You are. Right. This is why like someone like Dean, a white kid that was born here, really don't understand. You don't have the right to go to another country and act however you want to act.
Right.
That is not your right. Right. Particularly when that country allows you to go into said country for studying, for work. So it is not. This is the thing where it is not your right to treat another country how you want it to treat. Okay, that is delusional.
Right.
This is why it's true that we immigrants or visa holders or whatever, they have to act. Act the best they can. Because again, you are allowed to enter the country.
Right, a visa holder is much different than an immigrant.
Yes.
A visa holder your visa is based on things that you wrote on your visa application. Mm-hmm. So she's totally right by saying you have to be on your best behavior. Because even like when I went to Iraq, when I was in Iraq, they constantly drilled it into our head that there was no alcohol. Mm-hmm. In Iraq, so you can imagine all these American GIs that are, like to drink beer and are basically alcoholics, going to Iraq, to a dry country.
Yeah. I mean, what is it that? A couple years ago, where that female basketball player, right, went to Russia with weed. She got arrested for years. Right. She got in prison for years because again. Countries have their own rules and regulations, so you have to be at your best behavior, 100%.
She was molested, or her dad took inappropriate showers with her. Are you going to hold Joe Biden to the same standard?
Yeah, so I think that all sexual violence is bad. And I guess what I'd ask you first is, do you think that any reasonable Democrat should have stopped supporting Biden as president if he did shower with his daughter?
Yes, absolutely. If you're a pedophile, and again, because I have been the biggest
Next
proponent
question.
and angry
Your answer was yes.
about the Epstein
Your answer
files,
was yes.
absolutely.
Your answer was yes. One moment. So your answer to that question was yes. That any reasonable
I don't support pedophiles.
One moment.
Yes,
Your answer to
absolutely.
that question
That
was
is my
was
answer
that
to this
any
question.
reasonable Democrat should have stopped supporting Joe Biden as president
If he was a
given that the
pedophile,
contents of
yes,
Ashley Biden's
absolutely.
diary, you were interrupting me, were accurate. Now, let's see how this mirrors to Trump. So if Biden did it, any reasonable person should stop supporting him. If Trump did it, should any reasonable
Was
person stop
Ashley
supporting him too?
Biden going on CNN and talking about how
there's
rape
also
was
another point that I
sexy?
want. Okay,
Because
so
E. Jean Carroll was doing that.
That
She's
is so
thrown a
dishonest.
lot of really disturbing things on social media as well regarding sex. So, and also too.
okay, I'm going to take over here. We only have 30
answer
seconds
this
on the clock.
question
I've been
for me.
overwhelmed. I
Answer
just
this
want to
question
respond
for
to
me,
the first
Dean.
point about
If this
your
was such a big
definition of rape.
issue, then why is it that this happened allegedly in 1995 and she didn't come out and talk about it until 2019?
Let's see if I can hit on all these points at once. One point that you brought up that I wasn't able to respond to is the fact that you said, according to the jury, it wasn't rape, it was essay. Well, if you read their legal definition of rape, or what it was in 2023, they define it as the penetration of the female member with the male member, and that exclusively. The action that the jury held Trump liable for was the forceful penetration of E. Jean Carroll's vagina with his fingers. At that time, the statute in New York did not define that as rape. We colloquially do, and by the way, since then, New York has updated their state law's definition of rape to include what happened to E. Jean Carroll alongside 33 other states. So in order to deny that Donald Trump raped E. Jean Carroll, you have to deny that a man forcefully penetrating a woman's vagina with his fingers is rape. Now to move on to your second point, when you said that E. Jean Carroll went on CNN and said that she thinks rape is sexy, you are undeniably miscategorizing her statement, which I find to be putrid.
What was her statement? No, what was her statement?
Oh yeah, her statement was that no, rape is not sexy, rape is violent. Many people out there think that rape is sexy, romanticize it, and that's not right.
So it seems like kind of what's being said here is that Dean is saying that there is behavior that Donald Trump is exhibiting that is inconsistent with some of the standards that Savannah is putting forward, and Savannah is responding that, sometimes Trump's behavior doesn't match up to that, but, that's the trade-off we get with accessibility to a president. And I think that, this conversation could obviously go on for hours, but I think that, the back and forth was, definitely interesting to witness.
Tonight, President Trump defending striking a boat allegedly carrying drugs to the U.S. twice in early September.
I want those boats taken out, and if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea. And there's very little coming in by sea. I think we've knocked out over 90% of it.
2 people initially survived. The administration says the decision for a second strike, killing all on board, was made by Admiral Frank Bradley. Today, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said even though he watched the first part of the attack live, he'd moved on to his next meeting before the second strike.
Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. That was exploded in fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war.
The Trump administration's second strike on the suspected Venezuelan drug boat has no legal basis and amounts to a war crime.
All right. I mean, I think this is a really hard prompt for you guys to argue. You guys can say you don't care about international law. You can say that international law is like this crutch that the U.S. has to follow and is hindering our ability to stop these drug traffickers from getting in our country. You can do that if you want, but it's really hard to argue the claim that this wasn't clearly a defined war crime, where this isn't even about the regular strikes. This is literally just about whether or not bombing a boat after it has already been taken out while survivors were clinging to the rubble is a war crime, which it clearly is according to the Geneva Convention. You can say, I don't care if it's a war crime, but it clearly was, and I don't really know how you're going to get out of that.
Dang, where did you see the video?
The video of it happening?
Yeah.
Literally, they had the video of the people getting bombed after they were clinging to the rubble. You can look it up.
Okay, so to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of neutral on this one because there's still an investigation that's ongoing. Obviously, we could only say, yes, this is a war crime, or no, this is not a war crime. But my personal opinion is that I would like to see more transparency regarding the Pentagon surrounding this. I was actually in the Pentagon just a couple weeks ago, and one of the questions that I asked the press secretary was, do you plan on declassifying the information regarding these strikes? Because right now, as it serves, the government is bombing what they state are alleged drug traffickers. I think that in terms of if this is going to be the most transparent administration, they need to give us the information on that, on who they're killing, which drugs are being seized. Also, if this really is about drug trafficking into the United States of America, 5% of the drugs into the U.S. are coming from Venezuela? If this was really about drug trafficking, we'd be targeting Mexico, where the majority, I think like 90% of drugs into the U.S. are coming from. So regarding what is going on in Venezuela right now, I don't support it. I know that 70% of Americans also do not support boots on the ground, and that seems like where we're heading. So I want to see what happens with the investigation. I am not, determinately saying that this is not a war crime.
Well, hold on. I could be totally have missed the news. They haven't released the video yet, right? Of the second strike?
I believe there was a video of it being
struck. But you haven't seen it. And the Armed Services Committee saw it. And when they came out of that, the libs said, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And then the Republicans said, seems justified to me. So the answer is we don't know.
But also, Hegseth was defending it. Yeah. Multiple of the Trump administration officials have come out and said that there were people clinging onto the rubble and they bombed them. They admitted to this.
It's not a war crime. It's not a war crime. It's not a war crime. They probably fired 2 missiles like couple seconds apart.
Yeah. I mean, I mean,
who cares? They're drug traffickers. They're not nice people.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, for me, it's like, one, I always said this, right? I'm not the biggest fan of foreign policies, because I really don't think that we should care about what's happening outside of our borders. But
right, I agree.
Yeah, if it is drugs, we definitely should care about it. If it's coming
out, we should take them out.
Yeah, but we also, this is the thing where, like she said, that we should care about Mexico, but we are doing it as well, right? We didn't deport people and close our borders because we didn't care about what's happening with Mexico. We did. So we did care about what's supposedly happening in Canada with any drug coming in our way there. We care about what's happening in Mexico with drugs coming in our way. We cared about, the fentanyl things that with China. So
right.
Obviously Trump does care. Now, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't really care that much about
right.
the Venezuela and stuff like that. I don't. I wish we put less focus on it, or we put less care about it. To be honest, if I was Trump and I wanted to do that, if they hit closer to our borders, then I'll bomb the shit out of them. Right? That's what I would bomb. I would not wait until they're quite far. I don't know the specifics on it, but
I don't think they're not launching the missiles in Venezuelan waters. They're waiting until they get into international waters.
Oh, then if it's international waters, would it be a war crime? Because I thought there was less regulations on that.
What this redheaded chick here, that redheaded boy chick there is saying is, well, the guys are clinging to the boat, so you gotta stop. You gotta stop. No.
I mean, to be honest, if it's drugs, I don't care about their lives. So as crazy as it may sound, but if you are going to deal drugs, death is part of the benefit package. So
yep,
right. Like the facts that we do know,
the facts that the Washington Post leaked, you think are true.
So that was confirmed by Caroline Levitt. Listen,
there was a second strike.
Yes,
nobody's seen the video. The senators that have seen the video.
Do you mind if I?
Do you think the senators, the conservative senators that came out and said seems justified? Do you think they're just like going to stake their claim on that?
Can I explain the law to you?
If the law is that you can kill people that are consistently posing a threat, then we need to see the video to see if they were consistent. You don't know that. That's what I'm saying.
I do.
Are you a wizard?
I do. No, I'm not a wizard. I just know the law. You can explain the law.
But the law is irrelevant if you don't know what happened. I would agree. I would like to see the video.
They confirmed what happened. Do you not believe the administration that you supposedly support
confirmed that there was a second strike?
Yes. Confirmed there was a second strike on boats in which they killed the survivors. That there needed to be one because they were still posing a threat while they were clinging to rubble.
You just answered my point in your own statement.
I'm believing the people who said they did the war crime.
Okay, so
most people don't say they did a war crime if they didn't do a war crime.
If they said that they needed a second strike because they were still posing a threat, then it's not a war crime.
Hold on. They said they were clinging onto rubble of a boat. In what world are...
That's what a bunch of libs are saying.
In what world is a boat that has been blown up and there are people clinging to it still an active threat that needs to be taken out by a drone? There weren't even American military personnel there. There were literally drones.
What I'm saying
what threat did they
don't know. You're basing your whole argument basing on something that you've seen. You haven't seen the video.
We also know that the boat was heading south to Africa, right? Mm-hmm. Right? They didn't have enough gas to get to America. Can I explain the law to you?
I'm fully aware, but go ahead.
Oh, you're fully aware? Then what's Article 8 of the ICC?
So, what you're going to say...
No, 1 second. If you're fully aware of what the law is...
What you're going to say is that they were not posing an immediate threat, okay? Okay,
well, I mean, I could tell you what I'd like to say.
That would constitute as a war crime if that were the fact.
You're very excited, and I think that's great. But if you just let me speak, hopefully I can help clarify this subject. So, Article 8 of the ICC defines a war crime to include the killing of any person under a protected persons class in accordance with the Geneva Conventions. Now, the Second Geneva Convention was held in 1949, and under Article 12 of the Second Geneva Convention, they define one of these protected person classes as shipwrecked persons. And a shipwrecked person was a member on board of an enemy vessel whose vessel was hit and destroys. Now, these shipwrecked persons, for the most part, outside of very narrow and specific contexts, are considered to be, quote-unquote, out of the fight. And the facts that we do know, especially those shared by Pete Hegseth, are that the boat was hit, the boat was destroyed, and it was on fire, it exploded, and you saw the fog of war. At that point, there's no innumerable argument to demonstrate that those two survivors purported any threat to the United States of America, especially in further consideration of the ICL, which is the International Humanitarian Law, which also has very narrow and strict guidelines for what a potential threat from a capsized shipwrecked person could be. If they are not running towards enemy lines to rearm immediately to re-engage with an enemy combatant, then they are out of the fight and it's a war crime. If they're not actively shooting guns at you, they are out of the fight and it's a war crime. Okay? I find it to be indefensible to argue that in accordance with Article 8 of the ICC, okay, Article 12 of the Second
It is investigating the government for whether or not they committed a war crime. So I feel like in itself, this is why war is bad, and perhaps that's,
This is why the ICC is important.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you on that. And again, we need more transparency from the administration.
The ICC is not important.
American just want...
The ICC is not important.
Yeah, to be honest, I find it kind of stupid.
The only thing that's important is power and power projection.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I just find it weak-minded. To be honest,
I mean, this kid here, this redheaded kid here, has way too much time on his hands.
Yeah, I mean, this is my thing where I'm sorry, right? When you participate in war, when you participate in crime, to think that, you know what, oh, we need to, treat you with kid gloves, in my opinion, I'm sorry. I think that's stupid. I really do. I mean, like, it's like, I always find it stupid, okay? If I break into someone's house with a gun, but you know what? I dropped my gun, but yet, I'm running away and I got shot. But, the person, I could sue the person that shot me in the home. And it's like, are you kidding? It's such a, in my honest opinion, it's such a weak-minded thing in our country to care about, we need to care about the villains. We need to care about the corrupt. We need to care about the criminals. I find it quite hilarious. Particularly, let's say this is why I said that from people on the left. So you want to, you prosecute Trump to the nth degree that he did all these terrible things. Yet people who are doing terrible things, you want to treat them with kid gloves. You know what? You don't need to go too far with them. It's like, I think it's idiotic.
every single administration to be held to the same standard, and for the media to hold every administration to the same
One last
standard.
question. I haven't seen a video of the brain in your head. Does that mean I could reasonably assume that you don't have one?
Sure. I feel like this is very macroscopic, focusing on this second strike. I don't think we should be striking these boats at all whatsoever, okay? For multiple reasons.
Secure the border.
Okay,
Easy
no,
peasy
hold
solution.
on. Multiple things. One, if we strike these boats and we blow them up, we kill the people who are potentially bringing the drugs into this country when, hopefully, I hope you would agree, maybe we have a strong Coast Guard that would be able to apprehend these individuals and then use them for intelligence and be able to understand where they're coming from, who's sent them, who's paying them, and then we can actually get to the root of the problem of drug trafficking, which I know we're all against, instead of literally blowing up all of the evidence. It really doesn't make any sense whatsoever at all to be blowing up the boats other than to fulfill Trump's strongman promise of wanting to seem super macho and militarily strong. So I just don't see I don't even care about
Steve, what is up? Thank you, my brother.
Does this guy not think that hasn't been happening for 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know. It's the weak mentality of this. I mean, I don't know.
He wants to feel morally superior without getting his hands dirty.
No, yeah.
Well, once you get your hands dirty, you get more moral clarity of what's right and wrong. This guy doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. He just wants to argue points that are that make him feel better.
No.
This second strike necessarily as the point in this conversation. I care more about why are we blowing up these vessels in the first place.
I'd rather
Agreed.
drone a vessel than get our Coast Guard in a firefight.
Hold on. No. There's a really important point now. Our law enforcement, is it their job to sometimes put themselves in harm's way to ensure that the rights of others are upheld?
I am
Would you support
anti-firefights.
Hold on.
Narco-terrorists.
Would you support police executing someone on the spot because there's a chance that they could endure bodily harm?
Okay, well, that's not a good plan.
But that's what you said. I would rather have.
If a criminal is pointing a gun at the cops,
is that what they're doing?
Oh my gosh, the narco-terrorists
but that's not what they're doing. Were they doing that?
Actually a threat to society.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they could be a threat.
That's the
What should we do with people who are a threat in our society?
Well, it depends on the threat.
How do we even know what threat they are? Because we blew them up.
So in this segment, we talked about the Venezuelan drug boat strikes and whether or not those are legal and amount to a war crime. You guys very passionately talked about how you think that it is. I was undecided on it. Joe Bob very much thinks that it isn't. And that's what we discussed.
Hey, what's good, dude? Did you...
Plus.
Trump's A++++ grade of his economy is accurate, despite growing affordability concerns.
Bring it on.
Why don't you go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe Bob. Go ahead.
I was hesitant. I almost chose red because I don't believe in great inflation. And I think it's probably just an A+. So I will say that. I don't know. What are your concerns about? I guess I could sit here and defend, but I guess
I do
like to defend something.
I want to hear from you.
Okay.
Why do you think the current economy can be ranked as an A++++++? Let's just hear your argument.
A+++++.
Before we start the...
Now, let me say this, right? It's hard to necessarily judge our economy accurately because here's my opinion. Yes, we may have a high on, I believe, I forgot, right? But I forgot the numbers. Maybe an average unemployment rate, but there are certain metrics that, I see in anecdotal, I see people spend money, just as much. I see people traveling, people, spending money like it's nothing. Gas prices are not crazy high. Stock market is, it is not at peak highs, but it is at highs, so, usually stock market is a good indicator of our economy. Spending habits is a good indicator of our economy as well. We still have people spending like they're not spending like they're broke. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know if I would say necessarily our economy is an A+, but I definitely don't think our economy is like under a B. So, it's hard to tell. But like again, me being in the stock market, I mean, like, I wanted to see again. I wanted to check again. I want to check.
Didn't you invest in some highly speculative stocks just a couple of months ago?
I did.
How are they doing?
They're some are up, some are down.
Some are up, some are down. That's that's the way it goes.
I mean, but for me, I invest. Even though they're speculative, I invest in the long term. So since I just bought them, I usually wait for a year, 2 years or so to see how they're going. So that's where I go about them.
You know what my advice to you is?
What's up?
Buy and hold.
Yeah,
never sell.
I mean, that's my thing too, right? I have companies that I've hold for years, so I'm a long term type of person. So, that's how I go about it. But you know what? Like for me, I'm looking at my stock, my portfolio, and I'm 33% up. 33 is amazing. Yeah. When you think about like the S&P, usually it averages around 8 to 10%. That shows you that, I mean, like, again, it's not 100% a clear indicator of the economy, but it's one metric. So,
Yeah, when I first got into equity investing, I hoped for 10% return. Return every year.
Most people do. That's the average for the S&P. So that 10% is the benchmark. It's the bare minimum, right? And that's what people would hope for, right? So most people like the millionaires and billionaires, they just hope for 10% and they're good with that.
Let's just hear your argument.
Well, I mean, I think he said at the very end there's like I inherited something terrible, and it takes time to actually make things go in the right direction.
How did he inherit something terrible? Inflation has been on the decline since 2022 when Biden was president. So we literally kept going down.
Inflation is nowhere near the 2% of where it's supposed to be, as the Federal Reserve wants to keep inflation at about 2%. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it takes time to get that number down. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just have to point out a glaring issue in your argument. The first 3 words that you said were, I rank it the best possible ranking I could give it because it takes time to build a stronger argument. If you allow me to finish speaking here, you told us that you rank it the highest possible ranking you could give it. And then you said it, quote unquote, takes time. I bet if you were to finish speaking there, you'd say to build a stronger economy, which necessary.
Sism! Happy New Year's, my brother. Happy New Year's. Thank you guys for being here. I love you guys, right? You guys are amazing.
Really implies that right now the economy's not as good as it could be, but it will be better in the future. But that obviously means that the current economy is not an A++++.
And how many pluses are we going to get?
I can go with 4. I think that's a good.
We already have 4.
Can you respond to that point though?
I understand. But so first of all, I didn't say that. I said that the way that he's handling things is the best that it can be handled under these circumstances. Like inflation was at 9.1% during Joe Biden's tenure in office, and you can argue like, okay, well, Trump signed a $900 billion thing at the end of COVID. All that added to inflation. Then the American Rescue Act came. What was that, like $2 billion extra stuff? And then he didn't cut off.
It's trillion.
Trillion. Sorry. So I would argue that given how inflation was and where things are going now, it's hard to make the stock market is at record highs. Unemployment is down, trending downwards. Inflation is trending downwards. Real wages are trending upward, according to the Federal Reserve. I think that's San Francisco, by the way.
Sorry. I get data on like real median wages and growth in real median wages from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, Fred. They're genuinely reliable from the Federal Reserve. And I mean, after anybody at home leaves, if you go on Google and you type in FRED, real median wages, and
I don't use wages to indicate if we are at how great our economy is. Again, I'd rather use spending, right? If we want to, if we are actually buying things or using money. That's how I would equate.
You look at the growth that was seen in real median wages under the last year of Biden's presidency, 2024, and you compare it to what we've seen so far in 2025. With the start of the Trump presidency, real median wages, sure, have still been growing, but at a significantly lower rate than they were under Biden. So let's just make sure that we're correctly representing the data.
Since I also disagree with Joe Bob, again, I introduced myself as America First, and I do think that it's very important that we highlight that both political parties are to blame for the fact that we had record high inflation, that we are dealing with record high inflation. And again, I don't think that the stock market being good translates to affordability. I think that a lot of Americans are struggling with being able to buy a house, being able to afford groceries, being able to afford just living in the United States of America. And again, that is because Donald Trump printed $3 trillion, put that into the economy. Then Joe Biden printed another $2 trillion on top of that. We're sending billions of dollars abroad instead of keeping it here at home to actually focus on issues that matter for Americans. So I think that's why a lot of people are upset about the economy as well, because we're not focusing on fixing these problems here.
What would you propose spending that money on at home? Because, I mean, I don't want to mischaracterize what you're saying. Do you support things like universal health care, universal paid maternity leave?
We absolutely need to work on our healthcare system.
Okay.
I completely agree with that 100%.
So do you think we should have more money spent on that?
We also need to work on building more houses. Obviously, houses are extremely expensive because we have a 1.5 million housing shortage. On top of the fact that we import
Do you support, like, basically
on top of the fact
housing or something like that?
No, absolutely
Okay,
not.
so what we're going to spend?
Whoa.
Hold on.
No, listen, let me finish my point.
Taxpayer dollars.
Wait, how is your health care?
Huh?
How is your health care?
It's okay. I mean, I don't really use it as often.
But you're pretty young, right? So do you have like a do you have an employer health care, or do you buy it?
I buy it.
You buy it, okay.
Yeah.
But the national healthcare systems around the world, socialistic healthcare systems, they're failing around the world because they can't even provide their citizens a primary care doctor.
No, I mean, like I lived in the UK for a while,
right?
And the waits are like hours long.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, yeah, they rather still have it free, but I mean, it being free doesn't necessarily mean that it's all that great. So I don't know. Everywhere has pros and cons.
So, yeah, a national healthcare system. One of its primary goals is to give every citizen basic health care, right? And how you get basic health care is you have a primary care doctor.
Yeah.
Now, primary care doctors, I mean, I like primary care doctors, but they're kind of a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people going through getting medical degrees. If national healthcare systems around the world are failing because they can't even provide their citizens a primary care doctor.
Yeah.
If you go like Canada, they can't even provide their citizens a primary care doctor. And Canada's national health system is just catastrophic because it's not, everything is not free. They just provide for if you get an accident, you have to go to ER, they'll pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want an actual, a doctor to see you, a primary care doctor, or a doctor to see you right away, you have to go private. Even in those places, you have to go private. Well, you have to pay for it still. So it's like, yeah, I had people who, when I was in the UK, because they didn't want to wait the week or whatever long for when they can actually see a doctor, they had to pay for it anyway. So it's like, okay, great.
But in Canada, a primary care doctor will open up shop in like a medium sized, let's say 50,000 people, that size town, and that doctor will open slots in his clinic, and there'll be people waiting down the street to register to get him as a primary care doctor. So people in Canada, they can't even get a primary care doctor.
Own them?
No, nobody
say that
suggested
again.
spending taxpayer dollars. If you want to loosen the
what-
regulation in states and municipalities to build more housing, and then private investment can come in and build those.
What
housing.
she just said, instead of spending the money, sending it overseas, we should focus back at home. So I'm wondering, what things are we going to be doing with that money back
Sure,
at home?
deporting
Because a
illegal
lot of
immigrants
people
so we're
on the
not having
right
to
don't
compete with
actually.
them in the housing market. Also work on drilling here at home to bring down energy prices. Also, and I know we're going to get into AI regulation, but I mean, the fact that we have data centers that are then going to be built that are going to contribute to rising electricity prices, we need to focus on, again, domestic issues. I think that focusing on deporting the 10 million people who we are now competing for housing in the United States of America
ask
is a
again.
very important
What
issue.
are we going to spend the money on?
Can I add on to this guy real quick?
Go ahead.
Because you're actually asking a lot bigger question than I think the way it's being proposed. Because you're right on the money. What are we going to spend the money on? When we look at the Trump administration, the good places to spend money on domestically are being absolutely destroyed. Like, for instance, okay, a great place to spend money on is healthcare. Let's ensure that people don't die. Let's ensure that people can live longer lives on average. Let's ensure that people, have access to preventative means of healthcare.
I'm not going to debate you on that
chronic
one.
illness, right? So then they can, be a member of our labor force and they're not disabled. But then when we look at the Trump administration, what are they doing?
The stock market, all-time highs.
Wait, hold on.
See, there we
Who owns
So
90%
okay,
of the
so here's the
stock
question:
market?
Are you a communist? Like okay, so you're not like a seasoned means of production.
Do you mind if I answer your question?
What?
Can you define communism?
Oh,
okay, well, this is semantics. Okay, so we're talking about the stock market. Okay,
Who owns
communism?
who owns 90% of the stock market? The top 10% of Americans.
62% of Americans. Okay, so are you saying
the top 10% of Americans own 90%?
are you
I'm not saying the
saying-
stock market isn't important, but I don't think it's a good metric of how well the average American is doing.
Agreed.
That's my point.
Okay, but 62% of Americans are invested in the stock market in some way, shape, or form. I would probably argue that the Social Security people should actually get their money into the stock market because Social Security is one of the lowest performing funds of all time.
Maybe we shouldn't cut money from Social Security like Trump did in the Big Beautiful
No,
Bill.
you cut all the Social Security, but that's a whole different topic.
Hold on, what? You just were defending Social Security, and now you're saying we should
No,
cut
I'm
all
saying
Social
if they're
Security?
going to do it, they should invest it wisely. But that doesn't mean I don't think they want to do it. Like, to your point of like, well, we should be spending money elsewhere. I'm of the effect that let's stop spending money altogether. Like, let's just stop adding these new different programs that could include sending money overseas. But I also understand that the world is a big and scary place, and we have to.
That's the thing where I kind of agree with the stop spending money, because the U.S. have a spending problem, right? The thing is like, where's like, it's like the thing is like, where would this guy was talking about where we're going to spend that money? We shouldn't be spending that money at all, because we have to print that money to spend that money. We shouldn't be spending that money. We should be budgeting. Like America, they should be budgeting. We should be saving. We should actually be using the money we have wisely. Okay? You want Social Security? Okay. Well, put it in, like, Social Security should be like, just like 401ks or, IRAs. Like, it should be in the stock market to grow so senior citizens can use it when they need it. Okay? Things like that. We should be, the money should be, like, let's say, instead of using that money elsewhere, like, we have so many welfare programs. Well, the money should be going to those things, and things like that it's already existing. We don't need to spend more for things that we already have. We have a spending problem.
Right, but then Democrats couldn't steal it.
Yes, they couldn't launder the money. Yes, they couldn't launder that in their own pockets.
Assert our influence in other places, different conversation for a different time. But overall, let's stop spending money. Doge was a good thing.
The reason why I think that Trump's quadruple plus grade of his economy is not accurate is because when we look at the data, there is not a single macroeconomic indicator that is better today than it was a year ago. Look at unemployment. So far this year, there's been 1.1 million layoffs, the most that we've seen since the height of the pandemic under Trump in his first term in 2020. Not attributing it to him, I attribute it to COVID. When in April, we had a record high level of unemployment at 14.8%. Okay? And look at GDP growth in the first quarter of this year. Our GDP went down. It went up in every other developed nation. The Federal Reserve is telling us that GDP growth
Now, I want to say this, right? I mean, to be honest, I mean, new data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis shows, yes, prices are going up, but people are continuing to spend more money. So, in my opinion, one of the, I mean, it's not the only indicator, but when people are continuously spending, I mean, it is an indicator of our robust economy, right? I mean, like you say that, you know, wages are not going up as high enough, or jobs are not, you know, being created enough or whatever not, but people are still spending money. We're not saving money, or we're not frugal in the mindset where if we're so frugal, or if we're doing so terrible, why are we still spending so much?
Right. That guy who said our GDP hasn't gone up is incorrect. I think it went up like, it didn't go up a lot, but it went up like 3%. And all the other G7 countries, it was either 0 or like 0.01.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, our GDP, the 3%, around 3% is quite good for a first world country. So we're not gonna go double digits in GP, our economy.
Right. So the U.S. GDP compared to all the other G7 countries was much higher. It was either like 2 or 3% higher. I think Great Britain had a 0.01% GDP.
Mm.
So him saying that the U.S. GDP was bad is not correct.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Year's a percent lower than what it was last year. At least it's projected to be. Look at S&P 500 profit performance. 52% of companies in the S&P 500 reported lower profits in Q2 than they did in Q1 when our GDP experienced negative growth. I mean, when we look at all of these macroeconomic variables, they are worse today than they were a year ago. So
it's Q4 though, isn't it?
Trump is
it's not Q1 or Q2.
What?
It's Q4. Why is this guy saying it? Why is he quoting Q1 or Q2?
I know. This is like, that's like, okay, because here's the thing, right? Overall, 66% of companies in the S&P have reported actual results, right, for Q2 25 to date, right? So let's see. I mean, we are reporting good results, right? We're doing better than ever. Of these companies, 82% have reported an actual EPS above estimates. 82% of companies are reporting earnings per share above estimates. We are doing great. Companies are doing quite good. English, what is up? Happy New Year's, my brother.
Then I also want to hear you say that the economy under Biden in 2024 was an A+++++++.
I see what you mean by throwing a bunch of different things. So like the first point, I think you're talking about 1 million layoffs overall. I think there was like 3.1 million full-time jobs, not gig workers, that have been added since then. I think the second point was GDP going down in the first quarter, which is true, but then you have to weigh that against whether GDP is more important than inflation. I would imagine that you would say bringing inflation down is a good thing, correct? Yes, we want inflation to go down.
Yeah, maybe.
That by nature, you kind of have to make sure that spending doesn't get to a crazy point where inflation goes through the roof, as we saw in the past administration. So yeah, inherently GDP is going to shrink a certain amount, and it's gone back up since. Yes.
You could finish.
I realize he's not interrupting, but
I'm sorry if that hand gesture is like still like a pressure. I'll put my hand down. I'll let you finish talking. One specific point that I'd like to bring up. Wait, first let me know. It's okay if I share it with you? Okay, awesome. One thing that you said there was that he was bringing the spending down under the last administration. It was up. So do you know what the CRBF is?
Enlighten us.
That is the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. According to the CRBF, under Trump in his first term, he signed $8.6 trillion worth of debt-related spending into law. Under Biden and his...
Artie, what is up, my brother? Thank you for being here. I love you, my brother. Thank you guys for being here. Happy New Year's, everyone.
4 years, he signed $4.6 trillion worth of debt-related spending into law, accounting for COVID-related expenditure. Under Trump in his first, he was at $4.6 trillion worth of non-COVID-related expenditure. Biden in his only term, $2.2 trillion worth of non-COVID-related expenditure. And so far, in the last 11 months, under Trump 2.0, he's added close to $5 trillion worth of new debt-related spending. So you're going to tell me that the last administration was a problem with spending, even though so far in the last 10 to 11 months, the Trump administration has spent twice as much as Biden did in 4 years on non-COVID-related expenditure. Your priorities are misaligned and your facts are wrong.
Okay, so speaking of facts, the CBO had a big thing of like what it's going to, what deficit spending, right? Because a bunch of people talk about tariffs blowing up deficit spending, Trump's blowing up deficit spending. The CBO came out at the beginning of the Trump term, had a specific budget. Now the Treasury Department is pointing to the fact that, it's actually 20% lower than that. So there's that. To the point of like the overall economy, are you looking at it relative to where it was? Like, so if we're basing this on hey, this happened and now we're trying to fix it. So you're saying Trump is doing a bad job at trying to fix it.
I think what I'm just saying is that the economy is not an A++++. Like it's,
well,
I swear,
relative
I swear,
to the previous administration.
Well, either way, we look at the economy.
So the answer is yes.
Relative,
you do think he's not doing a good job
in both, and the answer is
inflation coming down.
Yes. So when we look at the economy as a whole, right? If we just want to grade it, how is it doing for consumers? It is not an A++++++. When we compare it to the economy under the Biden-Harris administration, such as I did, by the way, I brought up very specific macroeconomic data points. I brought up very specific.
Yeah, okay. 26-0. What's your resolution? I don't know. I would say continue on the grind, right? I continue on a grind, continue creating this community. Promote a brotherhood, promote a family, so that promote, the betterment of men. So that is my resolution. Continue the grind. Mine is to finally have guts to start my streaming dream. I hope you do, my brother. I hope you do.
Specific facts about what he's spending on the debt. I brought up very specific facts about layoffs, about unemployment, about the economy. Everything was better a year ago than it was today.
Okay. So here, let me just give you some real world here, because I know you like to throw in these fancy statistics, but what's going on actually on the ground in the United States of America, right? For example, now one of the most expensive gas stations here in California at the peak of Joe Biden's administration, when he was at his greatest, $7 a gallon. Okay, why? That same place is here now.
Why? California
because
why was it that high? No,
it's still
not. Because Joe Biden.
Why were gas prices so high?
Because Joe Biden offshored all of our drilling and wouldn't allow us to drill here in the United States of America.
He approved more onshore.
And he drained our strategic oil reserves to try to bring down. He drained our strategic oil reserves to try to bring down gas prices because he messed up the fact that we. Right? Yes.
Let me give you more of those fancies.
I want to put the point out here first. I think that blaming Joe Biden, there's so many things you can blame him for. Gas prices is one of the worst things that you could blame Joe Biden for, considering the reason we had such high gas prices is because we were literally coming out of a global pandemic that slowed every single supply chain
and Joe
down.
Biden stopped drilling here in the United States.
What happened is that when production lines start up again and there's higher demand because people are traveling and there's low supply because the supply chains have been shut down, you're going to see higher. You're going to see higher gas price. You're going to see gas prices lower. And that's what happened every single time since 2022. Gas prices have continually been dropping into Trump's presidency, and they actually slowed at a rate at which they were dropping once Trump got into office.
And we're gonna Power Ranger duo team this shit. 20 seconds, fancy.
Go ahead, go.
Admission. You said that Biden slowed domestic drilling for crude oil. False, quite frankly.
No,
according to Politico Pro, the Biden-Harris administration approved 50% more drilling permits on federal land compared to Trump in his first term. And another one of those fancy statistics, do you know what the EIA is? The Energy Information Administration. That's where we get our information on energy production in America. If you go to Google, right, fancy search engine, you type in EIA, domestic production of crude oil, they have a graph where they've been tracking it since 1984 under all administrations, including Trump today. If you look at that graph, the most oil ever produced in a single month.
Yo, Big Bars, what is up, my brother? Thank you for being here.
Under Trump in his first term was December of 2019 at 12.9 million barrels of oil per day. The Biden-Harris administration produced more than that from July of 2023 until the end of their term. So when you say they drill less, when you say they approve less permits, Politico Pro and EIA say otherwise.
So what I'm hearing is you guys are American oil first.
Well,
right?
That's
what I heard. I was like, is the lib position now where you drill, baby, drill?
I can tell you what my position is.
Yes.
However, it is separate and decoupled from the fact that the information that I just
Can
shared
you
with
answer this question for me then? Why was Joe Biden draining our strategic oil reserves?
Well, I mean, I think that a conversation about our strategic oil reserves is important, and I'm happy to have that.
Why was he?
After,
well, no. Why?
have that
No,
conversation
this
with you.
directly pertains to it because that was one of my points. So I would love for you to respond to that. I'm asking you this question now. I'm asking this question now. Why did Joe Biden drain our strategic oil reserves?
Okay, and I'll answer again. I'm happy to tell you why he drained our oil reserves.
Okay, tell me.
However, the reason why I'm not willing to do that right now is because I believe the most productive form of dialogue is linear. And in order to engage in linear dialogue, it is a necessity that we respond to one another's points. You made the point.
But this is what I'm telling you.
So I gave you data. Savannah, please, 10 seconds. I gave you the data.
You have taken 40 seconds.
If you can admit that you were wrong, right? If you can just admit it, say I was wrong, Biden didn't drill less, right? Then I will happily answer the question about oil reserves.
Then, so clearly, I thought that Joe Biden was draining our strategic oil reserves because we stopped drilling and the gas prices went up exponentially, and Americans didn't like that. So, what about that is incorrect, and why did he do that?
So the point that you made there that was incorrect is the one that I've already made. I mean, there's a couple other ones too that I haven't already responded to, but the one that I already did respond to is that Biden drilled less.
So in this segment, we talked about the economy, and Joe Bob did agree with Donald Trump's ranking of A++++. We, however, did not.
This is your Peace Prize. There is also a beautiful medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go. I'm gonna wear it right now. Okay, let me hold. Fantastic. Excellent.
It's gorgeous. That's FIFA President Gianni Infantino reminding the award's first recipient that it's actually 2 Peace Prizes in one. One for the mantle and one you can wear around your neck.
This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives. The Congo, as an example, over 10 million people killed, and it was heading for another 10 million very quickly. And it just, the fact that we could do that, India, Pakistan, so many different wars that we're able to end, in some cases, a little bit before they started.
Donald Trump should have won the Nobel Peace Prize instead of the FIFA Peace Prize.
So do you guys love the... You guys are a big fan of the FIFA Peace Prize?
I don't know what it is. The FIFA?
Well, that's the point.
The soccer organization?
Beautiful. That's the point, because they literally just made it up to give it to Trump. This is another example of just someone capitulating to make Trump happy.
What is he supposed to do?
Well, no, I'm not saying...
I'm trying to give you an award. No.
No, I don't...
Banishment upon your medal. I will not wear it on my neck.
That's the point. Yeah, I don't care about it. I'm just saying they made it up to give it to Trump.
Yeah.
Just like the big tech CEOs were giving him gold trophies in order to avoid tariffs and soothe his ego.
Or just lying about their production. Apple had been running script to Donald Trump.
You could probably argue the timing on that. They probably decided way before he had.
No, they were asked. They were asked if
FIFA created a peace prize for Donald Trump, this is a stupid question, right? It's so, who cares? I mean, it does nothing. So what if they wanted to inflate his ego? Okay, whatever. That is Trump for you. I mean, what a stupid question to talk about.
They would consider giving it to Donald Trump, and basically he said that he doesn't have the character of a Nobel laureate.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that the lady who won it, Maria Machado, big time Trump person. Trump actually elevated her a lot in reposting what she says, and I probably think you probably agree that
Nobel laureate makes me a Nobel laureate.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
Dude, we could become Nobel laureates
right now. Here we go. I'm going to find out the nearest Nobel laureate.
I'm going to go retweet them.
There we go. And suddenly I'm literally have a Nobel Peace Prize.
Dude,
this guy right here.
You have the platform of the president, and all the same people pay attention to your retweets.
Did they pay attention to hers?
He prominently platformed her in a lot of different ways. He agrees that Maduro, not a good dude. obviously, with what we're doing in Venezuela. And I think she's very deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you guys not think she should deserve this?
We're talking about Trump here. I don't know why we're now on to the Venezuelan.
Because we're talking about the Nobel
Can I
Peace
just be
Prize.
honest?
Yeah, sure.
Can I be honest? I'll be honest. I don't think I know enough about her in order to make that decision.
You should look into her. She's actually great.
But
yeah,
in many cases across the country. Abrego Garcia is present in our country illegally. He is a proven human trafficker. He is a proven gang member. The administration has evidence of that. And as you saw from the Department of Homeland Security, they issued a statement saying they'll continue to fight this legal battle in court.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia's release from ICE custody is a victory against Trump's tyrannical immigration agenda.
I mean, I think there's a couple points that I want to make kind of right off the bat first. I think that, one, I think it's very important to note that when it comes to what they're saying here, there actually is no basis in the claim that he was an MS-13 gang member or anything like that. Trump literally held up a photoshopped image of his knuckles with MS-13 written on them and said, look, he has an MS-13 tattoo on his knuckles, despite them literally not saying that. So I think the administration is making up and fabricating lies and also going against court orders. Right now, within the Trump administration, it seems that every judicial decision right now, judicial activist means judge who made a ruling that I don't like. And I think that's very dangerous when you're calling a whole branch of government that is designed to check the power of the executive branch a judicial activist, because they made a choice that is in line with the law because they were doing illegal things, but you just don't like it. So I think that's why this is absolutely a victory for not just in immigration, it's a victory for the fact that the courts still have the ability to check the executive, because we saw Trump literally go against a judge's order who ordered him to turn around a plane that was deporting people to El Salvador who didn't have due process, and he ignored them. And I frankly thought that might be the end of the judicial branch's ability to check the president. But this is an example that, fortunately, at least for now, there still is the ability for the judicial branch to have that power.
So we're talking about Judge Boasberg, and the plane had already taken off.
And he issued an injunction to stop that because it shouldn't have taken off in the first place because it was illegal and those people hadn't been granted
How
due
is
process
it illegal
rights.
to deport illegal immigrants who shouldn't be in the United States of America to their home
Because they,
countries?
how do we know, hold on, how do we know whether they're illegal? If I declare,
If they don't have papers and they're not citizens of the United
how do we
States
look
of
at the papers?
America, then they're here illegally.
Hold on,
And let's take a peek at what happened in the
illegal.
last 4 years under
You're
Joe
undocumented.
Biden.
Prove me wrong.
You had 10 million people who came into the United States of America.
Due process, yeah.
So can we just refocus one moment, Joe Bob?
Keep this high level.
Can we just,
Like
I think it's important
first of all,
to
what you're
talk.
Can we at least agree
should
that you
talk about-
to
it's
the
really-
fact that 10
it's
million
really
illegals were let
immigration.
into the country over
like
the last
I don't think you
yes
guys
or
are
no?
pro illegal immigration, right?
No, I'm not.
So
Okay.
I
So let's
love
start working on
undocumented
that.
immigrants. I love undocumented immigrants.
So you want open borders. Is that effectively correct?
No.
Okay.
No,
So
but I
let's
do
start
seriously
there.
think
Let's
that
start there.
undocumented immigrants are beneficial to this country. I think that they should be offered a pathway to residency or citizenship, alongside a couple other things. Of course, the border is still important. But I think what we would both enjoy addressing with you was asking, how is it illegal, right, to deport an undocumented immigrant that came into this country illegally? I just want to start off with a simple yes or no question. Do you understand that undocumented immigrants have constitutional rights?
I want to start off with a simple question with
She's
you
not going to
guys.
answer the question.
Do you guys think that 10 million illegals were
Pivot,
allowed
deflection.
into the
I'm not going to
United
answer your
States of
question.
This is the
America
big
under
thing.
Joe Biden?
I'm just not going to answer your question.
Okay,
You
let's
Discuss how do you
We
take
have
care of
to
the problem.
do-
You have to
Hold
do
it.
Red Door, my sister, thank you for being here. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you and your family.
Illegal immigrants have rights. Well, they really shouldn't have rights, but they don't have constitutional rights. They have rights to due process in the immigration courts, and that's all the rights they have.
I mean, I don't know. I'm weird with the whole thing where the due process for illegal immigrants. I mean, their due process should be back to their country.
Right.
I never
Right.
cared. I mean, like, it's like, what's the point of the due process thing? I don't know.
This redheaded little punk here. He's such a little sniveling person who he's probably has a silver spoon in his mouth, who hasn't had to work a hard day in his life. So his livelihood isn't threatened by illegal immigrants who depress wages in the area that he works in.
Yeah.
So he probably goes to college, and his parents are probably rich, and he's never had to face any hardships in his life. So he gets to think about things all day. But Obrega Garcia, he's illegal. He's a violent criminal because he
Mhm.
beat his wife.
Yeah, yeah.
He wasn't a gang, and he was involved in human trafficking. Is this guy out of our country yet?
They brought him back.
Yeah, is he still in our?
I thought that was weird.
He hasn't worked hard. This Obrega Garcia hasn't contributed to the United States in any positive way. He's a loser. He's a loser. He's a human being, but he should go back to where he came from and then change that country.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't meant to be here, so
right. He's illegal.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into that.
No.
You're acting like I'm not going to.
If you're not into all this stuff that these people are talking about, why are you watching this? This stuff is making me mad. This redheaded little geek here reminds me of that guy. Who's that guy that comes on here and argues?
Oh, Alan.
Yeah, Alan. He reminds you of Alan.
Yes. I kind of agree. I mean, yeah, you know what? These topics aren't that great. So let's do something. I mean, here's a kind of an interview that I want to watch anyway. So let's see if it's going to be good or not. I don't know if this interview is going to be good or not, but I'm interested in the title. So let's see if this is going to be good. Let's move on to something different. This
now
wasn't that great.
It's now for something totally different.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's from?
No.
Monty Python.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that one.
Have you watched Monty Python?
I did. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of them, but I've watched a few of them.
Why don't you put on right now the argument clinic? The argument, where a guy goes into. It's just it's like 2 minutes.
The argument.
Yeah, this guy goes into he buys for 10. He pays £5 for an argument.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. John Cleese and Palin. I think it's Michael Palin.
Down here at the hotel, collect. Yeah, thanks, Frank. I owe you.
Just don't put Life of a Stockbroker on, because there's nudity in that.
Okay.
Right. That's that one. Right. That's it. Rest is all British humor. That was pretty good, right?
Yeah, I love Monty Python.
Yeah, just don't watch Life of a Stockbroker.
If I knew that, I would have.
There was nudity in it.
That was when I was about 9 years old. That was the first time I saw
really
women's breasts.
Wow.
It was on PBS too.
PBS shows. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a crazy stuff. All right, so I want to check this interview out. Okay, so I think it might be interesting. Feminism. I think one of my New Year's resolution is to continue to attack feminism. So, I wanted to check this interview out.
One word of that nonsense on a teletype.
All right. Let's check this one out. And I want to say this, right? Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for spending your New Year's Eve with me. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the love, the support. Thank you for watching, my videos. Thank you for spending your time with me. So you guys are amazing, right? I love every one of you guys. You guys are my brothers, my sisters, my internet family. I love you guys. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. So, all right.
The channeling of so many women of childbearing age into the workforce has had two really big, potentially civilization-ending consequences. One is the one I've been talking about, which is the feminization of institutions. The other is declining birth rates. That, too, can cause the end of your civilization. I don't think wokeness is an ideology. If it's an ideology, the way we get rid of it is by having better arguments. But if wokeness is an inevitable result of demographic feminization, then we really can't trust that wokeness is over.
Relax. This is not an ad.
Men, when they're approaching a moral question, will ask, what are the facts? What are the rules? Whereas women will say, what are the relationships at play here? How can we make everybody happy?
Mm-hmm.
How can we reach an outcome that will satisfy all the parties? As opposed to the male perspective of how do we reach an outcome that is just and according to the rules. That sounded a lot like wokeness to me. And the sort of piece that made it all click into place for me was the coincidence of timing. It is the case, just we can all agree as a matter of fact, that a lot of institutions that went woke or were affected by wokeness became demographically female in the last 5 years. Law schools in America turned majority female in 2016, and they've gotten a little bit more female every year since then. I think now it stands at 55, 56%. The New York Times became majority female in its workforce in 2018.
Wow, New York Times, I didn't know that. New York Times became majority female. No wonder they suck.
Which is maybe why it was so susceptible to the fads of wokeness and the internal policing and the Slack revolts that took place internally over there. Medical schools are now majority female. The white-collar workforce overall, employees in the United States with college degrees, a majority of them are women. And managers, management positions in the U.S. workforce, 46% female, so almost majority female. So the fact that all of these institutions tipped over to being majority female around the same time that wokeness emerged seemed to me that couldn't possibly be a coincidence.
Mm. And there's so many questions within that. I guess the first stress test of this argument would be, well, they were also very close to being majority female 10 years prior to that, right? So does going from 48 to 52%, is that really such a major shift that it would cause something as dramatic as that?
Well, you'd be surprised. I thought that the higher education workforce, professors in the United States, would have gone female ages and ages ago. But it actually only took female in 2023. So we think of feminization as something that happened a long time ago, but it really does take a certain amount of time for time to pass and older generations to retire. But I think the reason why attaining a critical mass of women has such a dramatic effect is that we're not talking about individual differences between individual men and individual women, but differences in group dynamics. For example, you might be able to say from the perspective of psychology as a discipline that women tend to be more emotional than men and men tend to be more rational, or well, any kind of generalization about men and women might have a certain amount of empirical support based on surveys. But at the end of the day, those differences are not massive, right? Like female support for free speech is greater or is less than male by double digits, but not, it's not like night and day. But when it comes to group dynamics, how does an organization function? How does an institution deal with conflict? When you're talking about those kinds of things, those tend to be more binary. Like either you solve your conflicts within an organization in a masculine way or in a feminine way. Either open conflict is something that your institution will tolerate or it's not. So that's the kind of thing where once you get a critical mass, you really kind of have to pick which one you're going to do.
Well, you mentioned consensus and sort of empathy and including all perspectives. That really isn't what happened with wokeness, though, is it? Because it was more like, we've come to a new consensus and anyone who doesn't agree is going to get killed, basically. Is that really, I mean, that might be the way women deal with this on a group basis. I don't know. You tell me.
No, it's hard to verbalize some of these differences because it might be a convenient shorthand to say men are more comfortable with conflict than women. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? But a famous psychology study. Very often, if you're studying gender differences, and you're a psychologist, the way you'll do your study is you'll just go to a playground and watch the kids playing and observe and count up how many times somebody hits somebody else or something like that. And there was an experiment of that type done, I believe, in Scandinavia, and it had a really funny outcome. The psychologists observed the kids playing and counted up how many fights they had. And they said, okay, we observe that men fight a lot more than the girls. But then as a supplement, they decided to confirm their observations by talking to the kids and saying, how many fights did you have today, Billy? Or how many fights did you have today, Sally? And their discrepancy was huge. They found that the girls reported having just as many fights as the men. The level of conflict, male and female, on that schoolyard was exactly the same. But their observations had failed to record any of the female conflicts, because when they asked the girls, oh, you had a fight today, what did that entail? It was things like, Megan said she was going to tell everybody they couldn't be my friend anymore.
Which is where words of violence comes from. Or did I imagine?
That's right. That's right.
That's interesting that a study would use children as the basis for the study of adults. That is quite interesting. That is fascinating.
And one of the most consistent psychological differences between men and women is women have a strong impulse of caring, right? Which is exactly, I'm not somebody who looks to evolutionary biology for the solutions to all human phenomena, but
women fight verbally, duh. I agree. You know what? This is the thing where one of my more controversial opinions, right, when it comes to women and violence, okay? This has been my own theory that I have built up over time. I've said this before, that women are better at conversations, manipulation. So one of my theories that I have, that you see a lot of fights, violence between men, but rarely do we actually look into the reasoning with violence against men. So I believe a lot of violence between men, maybe, I don't even know, I don't have any studies to say majority or whatever, but I believe a lot, right? Now, a lot can be very fluid, okay? But I believe a lot in the sense that I believe that a lot of these fights between men, it's essentially women aiming men like a gun at other men. So it's women getting, let's say, again, I have a video on my shorts of a wife having an argument with a man. So she had an argument with a man, went to her husband and complained about the other man, calling her a bitch, right? So her husband went to confront the man. So whatever, I'm not talking about the results or the consequence, what happening, but that is essentially the thing. A lot of women, when dealing with other men, they will then go to other men, their brothers, their cousins, their uncles, their fathers, their men, right? Their boyfriends, their husbands. Go to their men to target other men. So yes, you could say that it's men are fighting each other, but if you look at it more, metaphysically or whatever, it is essentially woman aiming a man like a gun at other men. So, that could be skewed that, maybe women are more violent because
I agree with you. I think women manipulate men in that way. And then I remember you had a stream it was probably a month ago, where you were talking about how women kind of manipulate men when they're arguing. And I remember Alan was on, and he couldn't quite grasp the fact that mental manipulation is also abuse.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He couldn't wrap his head around that.
No, because again, this is the thing where society always views physical abuse or men, right, as the perpetrator. So if it's verbal abuse, but if it's by a man, it's understandable. But especially physical abuse, that's the thing. And I think a lot of women can circumvent abuse by doing verbal abuse or manipulation. Okay, they manipulate a man, or they manipulate a man to be violent. So,
But the thing about women is, the problem that women do not like, as far as my experience goes. I was under a lot of, I had a lot of women supervisors whom I really respected, but the other women that I worked with, they hated the women supervisors. Oh my God, it was just like this vicious. I was thinking, what the heck is going on here? They were like just fight me going to human resources. All these women just going to human resources all the time, and men were just saying, my supervisor told me I did something wrong. I guess I'll improve myself. The women they can't take criticism. So man, it was just vicious, absolutely vicious.
This particular one does seem glaringly Darwinian, right? That women see helpless things and they want to take care of them. That is definitely something that Darwin would find a pretty easy explanation for. But that's also something that wokeness can easily weaponize. It means that if you can frame your political issue as a way of caring for some helpless class, then you're golden, right?
Minorities are babies.
That's right. But that is precisely what's going on at a deeper level. And that's why it's been so effective.
And Helen, your article, and I encourage everyone to read it, it's fascinating whether you agree or disagree with it, but you cited one particular case, which is the former president of Harvard. So let's talk about that, because you use it as the main example for the thrust of your argument.
That's right. This was back in 2005. So this is before anybody had ever heard of wokeness. Now, I don't know if your listeners in the UK will be familiar with Larry Summers, but he was at that time probably one of the 10 most powerful people in the country. He was not just the president of Harvard. He had also been in Bill Clinton's cabinet. He had been at the World Bank. He was an academically eminent economist, very well connected in the Democratic Party, just a really powerful guy. He was invited to give a speech at a conference on female underrepresentation in science and math, and he decided to deliver his remarks off the cuff. And to be really, and actually, if you know anything about Larry Summers, he has a reputation for being a really blunt guy. He's somebody who does not suffer fools gladly. So when you're getting the blunt Larry Summers, you're really getting something quite direct. But the talk was supposed to be off the record. And that's important to emphasize, that the women who listened to what he said and took it to a reporter were violating the rules that they had undertaken to follow when they attended. Anyway, he said that female underrepresentation in the hard sciences was attributable to a lot of different factors, not necessarily just prejudice or bias or the patriarchy not thinking ladies can be scientists. There is a difference of aptitude at the very, very, very high ends. If you're talking about people who are going to be tenured at MIT, that's way out at the end of the bell curve, and there tend to be more men out there than women. And also differences in taste. That is, women tend to gravitate towards professions and fields where they get to deal with people, as opposed to something really cold and abstract like physics. Not to say that no women do, but that is the tendency. So women who are way out there at that end of the bell curve.
Laughing Man, what is up? Happy New Year's, everyone, right? I love you guys. I hope you guys will have an amazing New Year's, right? I love you guys.
And have the aptitude for a career in hard science would maybe gravitate to something like medicine as opposed to something like physics. So Larry Summers said all this, and there were a bunch of lady scientists in the audience who said, "How dare you?" And they gave quotes to a reporter, something like, "I felt like I was going to throw up," or "I thought I was going to black out." And it became...
What a week. It's like, seriously? This is the problem. This is the problem when you talk to, honestly, the left or sometimes women or these... In my opinion, it's kind of a feminist mindset where instead of having a generalized conversation, a lot of people, particularly women, make it personal. When honestly, why put it on yourself? He would, I mean, again, I never heard of this conversation, but again, he was just talking in general, right? Not talking about, these are women scientists. He's not talking about women scientists. He's talking about women in general. It is true that women do not go, they willingly don't choose STEM field. They don't choose science, math, technology, all of that, because it is true. Women find it very cold, very, it's not a great field for women to be in, because women, it's not because of the patriarchy, it's because of the type, right? It's cold, it's analytical, it's about things, while women in general want to do things about people. They're social creatures. They are more social creatures than men. Men a lot of times rather be in their own little sphere, right? Focusing on a thing or some kind of a subject. Women rather focus in a group. They rather put their focus on people. So ridiculous.
And it became a huge controversy, and there were a lot of other controversies during Larry Summers' tenure as president of Harvard. So that was not the only thing that brought him down, but it was definitely at the very top of the list. And about a year later, he resigned.
And what's really interesting is with that case, and now I don't doubt that it caused a massive stir when he went on and basically went, I'm going to freestyle and deliver truth bombs to all of you. So here we are, enjoy it. But he's also, if you get to be president of Harvard, you are going to make enemies aplenty. In order to get to that position, you're going to have to fire people, antagonize people, because that's just the nature of the job. So he would have had loads of enemies who were willing just to pounce at that particular moment, surely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember some of the other controversies that have attended Larry Summers' career, and I believe one from his tenure at the World Bank was when he said, are we sure we want to really, really enforce labor laws against having sweatshops in third world countries? Because isn't having sweatshops good for them sometimes? I mean, it leads to economic development. He phrased it in a really blunt way.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this is a guy who has a history of putting his foot in his mouth in a way that I frankly find really admirable.
Yeah, but certain people don't. So then has that been extrapolated right the way through society, essentially, is your argument?
That was one of the first times that a cancellation happened, that people heard somebody say something offensive, pitched a little fit, and managed to rob this person of his job. And the particular aspect of it that seemed...
So, Laughing Man asks my New Year's resolution. Again, it's to continue to grind, right? I love the community that I'm building. I love you guys, right? I do. So, continue to grind. Hopefully, I will get to 10K on my Devil's Advocate channel, and we could start a brotherhood, trip. So yeah, continue to grind, continue on being the best version of a man I can be, continue on supporting men, and just, continue pushing this channel.
So full of foreboding looking back is that there was no attempt to debate the issue rationally. There were plenty of people, even people on the Harvard faculty, with eminent expertise in the relevant scientific fields, willing to stand up and say everything Larry Summers said was perfectly within the scientific mainstream. Greater male variability.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
This episode of Trigonometry, 3 categories for other human beings. One of them is baby, i.e. infant needs care. Another one is caregiver, i.e. spouse, mother-in-law, etc. And then it sort of kind of makes sense to treat everybody else as a potential enemy just from a safety perspective. Well, you don't know them, so you might as well make sure that you are extra careful. And what you do with the enemy, if you establish that they're the enemy, is you get away, and if you can't, you destroy them somehow, right? And if we accept your thesis, which is women and minorities fit the infant category, then anyone who appears to in any way be not on board with eternal empowerment, let's call it that, they would automatically go in the enemy box. Mm-hmm. And then what happens to Larry.
Yeah, I like Jordan Peterson a lot. I think he's a very wise person. But to be honest, this sort of mythology of gender differences was never something that interested me. Mm-hmm. It was never a topic that I ever anticipated I would be writing about. It's just not my cup of tea. Because it seems like a kind of debate that goes in circles and has gone in circles for centuries. There have been battles between the male and the female since the dawn of time, since before the dawn of time. The primates, there are battles between men and women. It's definitely a topic of debate that has been returned to and recycled over the centuries. The reason why this feminization thesis kind of sparked my interest in a way that gender dynamics in general never really did is that it is something unprecedented. It is that miraculous thing, something in the gender wars that is truly new. We have never, no civilization on the planet has ever had a situation where they can look forward to a day when a majority of judges are going to be female, or they can anticipate a day not too long from now when the majority of legislators in their parliament are going to be female, when they have female police chiefs in their largest cities, or the legal profession in general is on its way to being majority female. That is something unprecedented. So it's really not that surprising and shouldn't really be that controversial to say that something no civilization in human history has ever faced is posing new problems that we haven't seen before.
And how do you frame this in your mind? Are you saying, well, look, we're rebalancing society, and as a result of this, we will have institutions and discourse and a way of doing politics and a way of doing many things that is more female, and we're rebalancing society, and that's great? Or that like any change that causes problems, but it also brings benefits? Or is your contention that the increasing feminization of institutions is in and of itself a negative because that way of doing things is less suited to the purpose of those institutions? Because those are very different perspectives.
Right. It's all about the purpose of the institution. So you have to judge it on a case-by-case basis. The most feminized profession in America today is veterinary medicine. All of the veterinarians in America are ladies now. I don't know why that happened, but 80% of
Wow, I did not know that. That's interesting.
students at veterinary schools are women now. It's possible that has had catastrophic effects that I'm not aware of, but I'm very comfortable with that. I don't think that's going to lead to the end of civilization, because there's nothing about feminine modes of interaction that is contrary to the essence of veterinary medicine. However, I think if you're a university, that might be one where if you have modes of group interaction that are oriented towards conformity and consensus, that's not compatible with what a university is supposed to do. A university is supposed to be a safe place for prickly, eccentric characters who believe things that nobody else believes because they've studied an issue really hard and they're, disagreeable. The university should be a place for them. And if you're now running your English department in a way that you no longer tolerate characters of that description, that seems like a problem. In the case of business, that's one where I can imagine some businesses where feminine modes of interaction would be an advantage and would lead your business to flourish. I can imagine other businesses where the HRification of the workplace is a major roadblock and makes it really hard for your business to do the things it was designed to do. So in my perfect world, there would be room for both. We would, it's a big world out there. Everybody can find the kind of workplace that is most compatible with their own preferences. The problem is that in the United States right now, there are a lot of legal thumbs on the scale that tend to really, really empower the HR lady in your office and give her a veto power of everything that anybody does who works at your company. And that has led to a feminization of every workplace, every large institution in America. So I think that is a thumb on the scale that makes it hard for institutions that might be more suited to masculine modes of interaction to pursue them. So, yeah, and it has to be judged on a case-by-case basis. There are examples of feminization that are fine. There are examples of feminization that are advantageous. So you just have to judge it against whether or not it serves the purpose of the institution, and also whether or not that feminization was naturally occurring or whether it was just the HR lady coming in and ruining things for everybody.
Well, in terms of the HR lady thing, I totally get what you're saying on the one hand. I also think, look, I'm 42 years old. Within my lifetime, there would have been male bosses who would go around slapping their secretaries on the ass. And that was the culture of, and that business, you might say, well, that business made more money and was much more concerned about, profits, and it didn't care about, somebody had the wrong opinion and people weren't getting cancelled. but maybe that was a good thing to address.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think sexual harassment's very bad. Good that we have laws against it. But I think some of
women sexually harassed too. I was sexually harassed when I was working.
No, I mean, I believe women. I mean, of course, women do it too. In my opinion, like I just think that, I mean, yes, no one should harass anyone. But I also think that I never understand why women desire to work in spaces that are predominantly men, right, or predominantly geared towards men, right, like financial spaces or, I don't know, just whatever.
When I was sexually harassed, I just said I was kind of embarrassed by it because I wasn't attracted to that woman, so I thought people would make fun of me, and plus I didn't want to make a big deal out of it.
No, I mean, men usually wouldn't make a big deal,
right? So I just said, I mean, I could have ruined people's lives, but I just said, fuck it, I'm not gonna. No. It's sexual harassment is not a pleasant thing, because it's crazy. I mean, if I was a woman and had sexual harassment, I guess I would have felt differently. But since I was since I'm a man, I just said, I'll just brush it off.
No, I mean, no one should harass anyone.
But it's crazy that these women who sexually harassed me, they weren't actually good workers or nice people. So I always kick myself, and I should have turned them in because they were horrible workers.
No, I would definitely agree. I definitely agree. Here's my thing, right? Every industry is predominantly men because women weren't allowed to work there until recently. I agree that every industry was predominantly men, but I would also push back where, in my honest opinion, we see this nowadays, okay? That there are some industry that really didn't need to, I mean, wouldn't be naturally men oriented. So let's say medicine. Medicine isn't predominantly men, okay? Medicine isn't predominantly men. Education isn't predominantly men, and we're seeing the results of it. I would think that, I don't know, places where engineering, money oriented, finances, stuff like that, they're predominantly men, and they're still, even today's day and age, where again it's so free, it's still predominantly men. So it shows you that it's still male oriented. Women don't care to go into it anyway, right? Construction, finance, a lot of industries that are still predominantly men, engineering, all these kind of things. So because you again, you see the results of it, where if left to free will, well, women wouldn't choose it anyway. So
yeah, especially in combat, because women there's this argument that women can be in combat. They can't be in combat because they can't carry enough equipment to be in combat. Plus, they have that monthly women problem, right? And what happens is if a woman was if women are incorporated into companies that are in combat, those women they have to be sent back to to take showers and clean themselves for their monthly problems, and they come up back all fresh and clean, and it ruins the morale of men because they get to spend a couple days back in base camp while all the men are out the front line fighting and dying. So women can't be in combat.
Yeah.
Women think they can, but they can't.
Yeah, women are better suited for behind the scenes role. So
who just really don't know what the law mandates today. People out there who read it did not believe me when I said that you can be sued for not hiring enough women at your company and for not promoting enough women at your company. But that is truly the case. One of the most famous gender discrimination law.
I do want to say, I repeat, right? I don't think anyone should be harassed. So, yeah, I don't, men or women, right? I don't agree to that.
Who is that? That women get away with harassment because men get humiliated by. There's a social stigma of men complaining about sexual harassment because women and men will make fun of them.
Yeah,
So
and
whoever that person was that says men don't get sexually harassed, that person is dead wrong.
no, it's not that women are. I mean, yeah,
What
it's
is
that more. It's more that men don't bring it as an issue.
right, but it doesn't mean that sexual harassment of men isn't as damaging as it is to women. Men
No.
just
Men
they treat it differently. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's harder. It doesn't mean that it's less harder on men. So that person who made that comment, she's totally wrong, or he or she is totally wrong.
No,
I don't know where she's coming from.
American history was the Sears case, which was launched by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in 1980 against Sears, the big retailer. Specifically, they alleged that Sears was channeling women into non-commission sales positions and away from the commission sales positions, which tended to be more irregularly remunerated because it's a commission sales position. So you had good months and bad months, but you generally got higher pay. Sears responded to this lawsuit by saying, look, the statistical disparity is there. You're right. Our female employees tend to prefer lower paying but more stable remuneration packages. We've tried to get them interested in this one and they just won't do it. But the EEOC said, no, it's only because you are biased against women that you have this statistical disparity. And the thing that makes the Sears case so famous in the annals of these lawsuits is that their case was entirely statistical, purely statistical. They did not have a single woman who claimed to have been discriminated against at Sears. All the women that Sears called said, we love it. We love this company. They're really great. They're a great place for a woman to work. Now, eventually, after 6 years, a judge ruled in Sears's favor. So Sears won that case. The EEOC did not prevail in their purely statistical case, but it took Sears a lot of money to defend against that lawsuit. It did drag on for 6 years. It was not like they said to them on day one, if you don't have a client, you don't have a case. And the way that the law resolved this question of whether you could have a purely statistical case was to say it can't be just statistics. You do need somebody who claims to have been discriminated against, but it can be primarily statistical. So it is simply true that if your company has men overrepresented in management or in employees overall, that can be the basis for some woman to come along and file a lawsuit against you. And that has occurred in many, many businesses. And it usually doesn't make the headlines, so people don't really know that that's what the law says. But Wall Street firms have been hit. That's what the law says. But Wall Street firms have been hit with things like this because they don't have enough female traders. It's just, if you're a business owner, you have to be aware of this. And so I think it is true. It's just fact, as a matter of fact about the world, that women are hired and promoted more than they would be in a pure meritocracy because of laws like that.
Because it always interested me with the whole kind of woke thing and when we went peak nonsense, that more people within the halls of power, wherever that may be, whether it be politics, business, or wherever else, go, no, you're not going to have a glorified tantrum. And I always saw it as a courage deficit, if I'm being honest. But now that you've explained there's a legal element to it, it goes some way to explaining part of the problem.
Well, think about James Damore, the guy at Google, who wrote his memo saying basically the same Larry Summers argument all over again. The reason why Google fired him was not just because they had a staff revolt. It was because it made them vulnerable to a lawsuit. If you have somebody who's on the record saying, I think it's possible that women are underrepresented at the extremes of aptitude, then somebody who files a lawsuit can say he doesn't think women can be capable, and that's why he didn't promote me or hire me or give me opportunities at work. So yeah, no, that is not the only case where that has happened, that somebody has made a statement about gender differences that led their institution to fire them because they were worried about legal liability.
But that seems to me so ridiculous because it's a clear misrepresentation of the argument. Even, when I used to teach, I could show that to my 14 or 15-year-olds and go, why does that argument not scan? And they'd be able to explain it. So why can't other people?
I don't know what to tell you. It's the trouble is that the law is just the simple 1964 civil rights law. You can't discriminate against somebody on the basis of sex. And that sounds really great. I mean, that the same way that the ERA sounded really great. Equal Rights Amendment was against equal rights. But judges have extrapolated from that really simple statement all kinds of stuff, and it has created an atmosphere of uncertainty, right? So, and that's the thing that is most oppressive, that feels most totalitarian on a day-to-day basis. You really never know whether some behavior or some statement is against the law or not, because a lot of stuff falls into the gray area of, well, it's not technically illegal, but if somebody sued our company, they might be able to cite that as evidence of an atmosphere of bias. And that's just not the way law is supposed to work.
Because what it seems to be is, look, let's be honest about this. Until relatively recently, women had a pretty tough time of it. It wasn't, easy to be a woman, particularly not in the workplace. You were likely to be discriminated against. There's case after case, story after story. What it seems to me is that there has been an overcorrection by well-meaning people wanting to implement laws in order to protect women, and it's kind of metastasized into something else.
And we have to keep in mind, it's not just about the people who work at an institution. If you're talking about something like the legal system, I want female lawyers to be happy and have a good time, but that is not my top priority. My top priority is that we have a good legal system that's functioning and leads to a just and fair society. And we had increasing female representation in the legal system seems to have been accompanied by a lot more wokeness, which I think is more damaging in lawyers than it is in almost anywhere else. Because the law is the one field where you really want people to be as literal-minded as possible, as devoted to the rules as possible, not fudging things so that everybody's happy, really sticking to the letter of the law. And so if the law is corrupted, that's something that I'm very, very worried about. And we got a glimpse of what a maximally feminized legal system might look like here in the United States in our Title IX campus courts for sexual assault. I don't know how it's done in the UK, but here in the US, in 2011, the Obama administration mandated that universities in the United States adopt certain rules for adjudicating allegations of sexual assault on campus. Things like you had to use a preponderance of evidence standard, so no more proving things beyond a reasonable doubt. Men who were accused were no longer allowed to confront their accusers because that might be traumatizing. It was just basically the wish list that we saw during the Me Too era, which, a lot of people were sympathetic to because nobody wants, sexual abuse or sexual assault or anything like that.
DA, the woman that kind of brought this, what this woman is talking about now is there was this woman, I think it was at Princeton. She was called the Mattress Girl. Do you remember that? The Mattress Girl?
I don't think so.
Well, she accused this guy of sexually assaulting her, and then she strapped her dorm mattress on her back and she carried it all across the campus.
Really? I didn't hear that one. Huh.
Right. So this guy at Princeton, she's telling exactly he wasn't allowed to confront his accuser. He was just kind of it was like a kangaroo court. He was just expelled from campus. But the odd part about it is this mattress, the Mattress Girl, after she graduated from college, she married a conservative.
Huh. Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
No, I'll say this, right? I to be honest, I think it's crazy that you cannot confront your accuser. I think that is honestly, if you have, I don't know, the whole mentality that it's traumatizing is it's not like I don't understand that, but I feel like because at the end of the day, it's American principle that you are innocent until you're proven guilty.
Right.
So you shouldn't be already the person's already assumed guilty. That's why they cannot confront the accuser. So I don't know. I'm not
Right.
ready for that. So.
The mattress girl, the person she accused, he was expelled, but I think college campuses have changed a lot since then, and I think he did sue and he got a settlement.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think mattress girl, I think she changed her mind and kind of grew up, and like I said, she married a conservative person like us, so she probably feels really bad about what she did.
And that's the thing where I just can't just trust people off the cuff. That's my thing. So
legal protections and due process protections that have evolved over centuries for very good reasons. And what we saw in the Title IX campus courts for sexual assault and what we saw during the Me Too movement was a willingness to throw out those due process protections because of a political commitment to feminist values. So I don't want to see that attitude to the law expand to other fields, because in the particular case of sexual assault and Me Too, it worked out really, really badly. A lot of people were unfairly accused and had their lives ruined, and it was not a good system.
When you buy seafood, what do you worry about most? Nutrition? So that's beautifully in
of discipline or adjudicating that case. Now, you or I might think that if you've been the victim of a serious assault, you would go to the police. And that, I think, is what a lot of people recommend as a better system. But the school was required to have its own little campus courts for deciding whether or not a particular hookup had met the standard for assault. And yeah, it was a really bad system. And a lot of people had their lives ruined.
Well, coming back a little bit to your point about women being promoted partly because there's a fear of not having enough women in your company or institution, do you not think that this ultimately goes back to the very core of the main idea that you must never utter out loud in public now, in pretty much anywhere in the Western world, is that there are group differences between people, not just men and women, but generally, that maybe some groups are overrepresented or underrepresented in certain fields because of cultural differences, or maybe, God forbid, genetic differences or other things. Thomas Sowell has a great bit in his last book about how almost every brewery in the world, including Tsingtao, the Chinese brewery, was founded by Germans, right? He breaks down that, how in almost every great American, Latinos are more overrepresented in baseball, white people are overrepresented in hockey, black people are overrepresented in NBA. Like, it's actually the standard human thing that different people have different aptitudes for different things. But if you live in a society whose central idea is that all men are created the same, not equal, but the same, which is what we now believe, then all of this stuff follows, surely.
Yeah. I think a lot of the research into group...
My thing is, right, this is my thing where the whole... I don't mind the change, right? I don't mind the change in the sense that we have created a society where we are at the most equal we could have ever been. So fine. It is what it is. I'm fine with a sense of equality. But what I'm not fine is the desire for overrepresentation. So here's my thing where I grew up during the time where, my movies, they were predominantly white people. I didn't care, right? I weren't crying that, all the action movies I saw were Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Stallone, or whoever. I loved it. So for me, it's like, okay, I get it. We have equality. If you could do it, you could do it. But what I hate is that we have to force it. Okay, we have to force more black people into things. We have to force more Asian people into things. We have to force more women into things. When honestly, it just feels. This is why I've said this before, where movies don't feel like it's natural. It feels like it's a check mark. And that's my problem with it nowadays, where, again, you need you need a quota system, right? And I'm here, and I believe this is a lot with society. Pretty much everything has to have a quota system, right? You have to have enough, women in it. You have to have enough minorities in something. You have to have enough alphabet people in something. And I think that right there is what's ruining America. I think it's great that we have equality where it's the opportunity, right? You have the opportunity to achieve whatever. But what I don't like is that you are forced to have a quota. That is my problem with how society is right now. The DEI thing, affirmative action stuff, anything that has to push a certain group ahead, that's where I find honestly needless and stupid. I feel great. It's great that we have equality, right? Where you can sue someone if they're discriminating against you, right? If they purely didn't want you because of your skin tone or because of your gender, okay, fight, great. But other than that, having quotas, that is honestly not American in my opinion, because it doesn't push merit. It doesn't push for us to choose the best of the best. It's just we're choosing people adequate, but because they're a woman. We're choosing people adequate because they're a minority. I think that's stupid, right? And that's why I see America kind of going down, where we're not getting the best of the best. So
differences is really valuable. But one question that they don't have an answer to, and that no one has an answer to, is one that I think we're on the cusp of finding out, and that is how big of an effect have affirmative action programs had. When the SFFA group filed its lawsuit against Harvard and eventually prevailed at the Supreme Court and got their Supreme Court ruling saying that Harvard may no longer use race as a factor in college admissions. When that lawsuit was ongoing, this is amazing, but nobody had an answer to the question of, if you get rid of racial preferences at Harvard, will the Black proportion of the freshman class go from 14% to 10%? Or will it go from 14% to 2%? I mean, you can make rough estimates of this based on things like test scores and grades, but people genuinely didn't know. We're sort of seeing that play out now on various college campuses, what the effects will be. But it was amazing to think that they got rid of affirmative action in university admissions without knowing what the outcome would be. When it comes to things like the workforce, these programs for women and for other groups have been in place for so long now, for decades really, that just like with the SFFA case, nobody knows what would happen if you got rid of them.
Zyrax, what is up, my sister?
Hi, how are you? Happy New Year's.
Huh?
Happy New Year's. Can you hear me?
Happy New Year's to you. Happy New Year's to you. Are you with your family?
No, my family's in the living room. I'm in the bedroom, so
okay.
Hopefully it won't be too noisy.
No. Thank you for joining.
You're the person who said that women are not getting away with harassment.
Mm-hmm.
You said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
She did.
Okay. How about all the women who harassed me?
Let's not get the individual cases, but
yeah, I'm just saying, nobody should be getting away with harassment.
Right, but you said women are not getting away with harassment. Yes, they are getting away with harassment because men don't. When men are embarrassed by harassment, at least when I was growing up, I think men are coming out now and saying that women harass them.
No, I'm not saying that women do not harass. Of course, women harass. We're human. Humans,
Right.
when anytime, you socialize, there's going to be some sort of harassment. And I'm saying that no one should be getting away with harassment.
Okay.
And that if you've ever been harassed, you should definitely report it, whether you're a male or a female.
Do you understand how men are kind of men are supposed to be masculine, so it's supposed to be a compliment when men are sexually harassed by women. Do you understand? So it's embarrassing to men to be harassed and then complain about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean,
I get that. And I understand that we have a culture of that, right? Where like if
It was
a
a
woman was to
misunderstanding on your
harass,
part. That you weren't saying that it was okay for women to harass men.
heck no, it's not okay. It's
Oh,
never okay to
sorry.
harass anybody. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Tim, what is up? Thank you for being here, my brother. All right.
President Trump has gotten rid of a lot of DEI programs since the start of the year, since the start of term 2, and we are just going to have to wait and see what effect that will have on the U.S. workforce. It is way too early to tell, but there have been news stories in places like the Associated Press showing that I think the latest count is 350,000 Black women have become unemployed or left the workforce since the start of the year, which is a pretty big number. And Black unemployment is going up now, even though white unemployment is stable or down. So those two are diverging in a way that they usually don't. Now, it is way too early to attribute either of those developments to the end of DEI. It is definitely way too early to say anything like that or to even come to any conclusions at all. But these affirmative action programs have been around for so long that nobody really knows what would happen if you got rid of them. So we don't really know what Trump's anti-DEI steps, what effect that will have on the American workforce. Now, to bring it back to feminization, it is my prediction that if you got rid of these thumbs on the scale, that the problem of the great feminization would take care of itself, that the demographics of a lot of these institutions would change in a way that basically the problem would solve itself. Now, there are some people who disagree, some people who think the great feminization is here to stay. I'm willing to kind of see what happens. I think there are probably some forms of the great feminization that are here to stay. Women earn more bachelor's degrees than men. There are more female undergraduates than male. But that's been the case since the 1980s. I think the female advantage in post-secondary education is probably pretty resilient. I would expect that to continue to be the case. In fact, at a lot of universities, they have affirmative action for men because they don't get enough male applicants, and they know if they have a 70% female campus, nobody's going to want to go there. So at the undergraduate level, it's men who enjoy affirmative action. But how would that work out in the workforce? I would anticipate that a lot of the feminization that we see now would naturally recede. But as I've said, nobody really knows.
And Helen, how much of this is to do with young women not having kids, and therefore their empathy has to go somewhere? It's a controversial question because we know that women, as they have kids, they become more conservative, their priorities change, they focus more on family than they do on social issues.
I have certainly met liberal women whom I would be so bold as to psychoanalyze that is exactly what is going on. But I think the great feminization, the channeling of so many women of childbearing age into the workforce, has had two really big, potentially civilization-ending consequences. One is the one I've been talking about, which is the feminization of institutions.
Now, I do want to say this, right? One of my personal, I guess maybe controversial opinions is that this is why I've been saying that modern day women are selfish and self-destructive, and in my opinion, as a poison to society, is because of this selfishness. Now, I'm not saying on the individual level, we need to force women to have children, to have families. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, because of feminism, because of the, modern feminist ideology of a lot of women, is that it's the lack of care of communities, families, togetherness, but individuality. The focus on themselves. And again, this is the point where it leads to the ending of society, where men have always viewed it as duty to, further society, for civilization, to produce, protect, provide for society. While because our society is so civilized, women are now free to just think about themselves, but not care about actual society. When, in my opinion, I think men actually care about the world and society more than women, right? Women care about themselves and kind of about other women, but they care about other women because of themselves, right? So I think women, and this is why I constantly say feminism is poisonous. And I see that you can see that in Asian countries, right? Korea, Japan, birth rates are going down, marriage rates are going down, divorce rates are going up. So it's those indicators are a pathway to civilization endings, in my opinion. Not to the extreme, but it's still that pathway. Go ahead.
Homie?
Yeah, Zyrex. So go ahead.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I disagree. Um, well, you know what? Let me it's sort of like, um, like I'm not so to me, I think everything has sort of um, like an effect, right? I think the problem is that, we, as, any country becomes more modernized, um, and more capitalist, I guess you could sort of say, then yeah, I think you're going to get this kind of results. People care more about money. It's about greed. And so the more people care about me, then yeah, the more people are going to care less about people and care about themselves, because everybody wants the brand, the best car. Everybody wants that big old house. Everybody wants, things, material stuff. And so when you want things, you can't have kids, right? Because if you have kids, then you have to provide for kids, and you can't really provide for yourself. As in, you can't have that luxury lifestyle that you so-called want, because you see someone living that, lifestyle. So to me, I don't to to simply say that it's women, the women are being selfish. I feel like it's yeah, I think that's just wrong. Although I'm not saying that women doesn't contribute to the problem. Of course, women do, but I say it starts with men, because men. I mean, you guys do own rule. You guys do rule. Pretty much every country. You guys make up most of the laws. You guys, uh, promote capitalists more than females do.
That's not true. Women
Okay.
women have women control about 60% of the 50 to 60% of the spending in the U.S.
Yes, because of family, right? We spend because we have to buy stuff for the house.
That includes family
It's
and
not for themselves.
What's everything? It's
yeah, it's
everything.
women in general, right?
It's all
Yeah,
consumer spending is like 50 to 60%. Well, probably it's 50 to 55% controlled by women. Consumer spending, all consumer spending in the United States is controlled by women.
No, we just buy it. That doesn't. Well, see, it's like even before women work, women would still be the number one consumer, because women, men typically, yeah, work, and then women, they go in to buy groceries and buy stuff for the house.
Okay,
It's
is
not
that
so much
bad?
as buy. It's not. No, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying that because you guys are talking about the declining, birth rate
Right.
and stuff like that. Uh-huh.
Me-
The lack
Men,
of families.
right? But men, consume companies in the United States, they target women because they target their commercials towards women because women have like 50 to 55% of the purchasing power in the United States.
and that goes for the
Women decide what we are offered in the marketplace.
and my thing is like, this is a thing where it's capitalism, right? It benefits women in general more than men, or maybe I don't know if I say benefit, but it facilitated women's independence more than it did men. Okay, capitalism facilitated women's independence more than men. Having money, facilitates women's independence more than it did men. So one, I always want to say this,
Yeah.
right? The whole thing where men create this, no, men in general didn't create anything. Men just follow, right? In my opinion, men just follow. A select few men created, and then men just follow. So men, I would never
It's
say
still
men.
men. It's still men.
But when you say one man created, let's say hypothetically, one man created anything, so it's kind of disingenuous to say men when one man did it, right? I'm just saying hypothetically, it's disingenuous when you, because then because by that logic, right? You say men. You could say the same thing. This because you gotta be consistent with the logic. So if I say a few black people are, the small population of black people that do high amount of crimes, do you mean to say that, oh, black people commit more crime because black people commit crime? You can't, I mean, like, unless you believe that, but most people would not say that, okay? Because you can't necessarily equate the minority to the majority. And I believe a lot of people on the left or women constantly have that ideology, but it's not consistent, right?
No, it is because if you're going to compare something, see if you're comparing race, right? There's about five to six race that you would compare it to, right? But when it comes to gender, it's either the men or the women. Just because I understand that there's a few the 1% are men and the rest of the men follows. Uh, they're still men because we're comparing, because you guys are sort of making it, because you guys usually go, it's a woman or men. And so when we point it's men, then you guys want to go, oh, it's just a small percentage of men. But then women, we can't do that, now can we? We can't say, oh, there's only a few, a small percentage of women that are doing this. Why are the rest of the women looked at the same way? See, if we make that kind of argument, you would be. I see. I don't think you would even um, accept it because it's just women. For some reason, women are all women are not all, but the majority of women are the same. But then not all majority of men are the same.
No, I would never do like that. I don't because it depends on the logic, right? Again, it depends on the argument. I would not, because let's say this: because when I say feminist, I would usually say feminists, right? So I would say women. All women are feminists because all women aren't. So that's the thing. Again, you can't. If I'm doing that, then please call me out for it. But if I equate the minority of a group, right, to represent the majority of a group, that's where I feel like there's holes in that logic, because I might not do that for every other kind of conversations, because then it doesn't necessarily be consistent and logical. Because again, if you can say that because if again by stats, yes, per capita, the black population have more, they're more, homicides or crimes. But I wouldn't equate that. Oh, the black people as a whole have criminality or criminal mindset, because again,
Right.
I wouldn't do that. So again, yes, men follow, but doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, because men follow, it's men. No, because we can't equate. Let's say the rich, when they do something, they doing something more for themselves, not necessarily for the benefit of men. So if let's say a man that's in power, he's not doing it for the benefit of men. He's doing it for the benefit of him, or maybe for people who maybe out of his own status. So I don't think men benefit from necessarily that. Right? Because you can also say this, right? Let's say back in the day, again, a white man in power doing it, a black man or someone minority isn't benefiting from men in power, because again, it was only for a select few men. So that's why it's not consistent, right? That kind of thought process isn't, in my opinion, really accurate. Okay, that's where I go for it.
I
So,
understand.
so is it X-rays? So my contention with women, post-industrial women, is that they made horrible decisions on the men that they choose to have children and spend their lives with. I don't think women nowadays want to spend their lives with one man. I think they find it boring.
No, I think there's a changing of the tide.
Is
I
that
think.
correct?
No. I think women, for the most part, women are now. See, I don't know about this younger generation, but but women for the most part, they want to find their one mate, and they just want to be with that one mate.
Yeah,
Women
but okay.
tend do not have a lot of partners. Men tend to sleep around more than women.
Well, some men do. So, about there's
Mm,
some men sleep around a lot if they have the right genetics and are handsome and they are and they have a good they can chit chat with the women good, but women I don't think I don't know when it probably changed in the 70s where women had more choices, so they weren't really content with they I think women could look at a man and say, "Hey, this guy's gonna provide for me for the rest of my life and be pretty stable and not hurt me and not abuse me, and he's gonna love my kids and he's gonna stick around with me through thick and thin." But women, I don't think women, modern women like stability. I think they're looking for fun. That's why they like bad men. I mean, it's odd, but I think that's the way it is. There's some physiological change in women's brains that has happened.
I would
Where
say
they,
this. I would say this, where I do think, yes, in general, men are more the more women type thing. But I would say this. I think it's a growing population of women who are more
I
adopting
agree.
men's mentality of, yeah,
Yes.
they don't want to be in a monogamous relationship. So yes, I agree that, yes, in general, men are more the type to not. I mean, men in general. I do think plenty of men do stay monogamous, but it's a general masculine or male mentality to sleep around and so on. But I believe that, and I'll say this, right? I think it's a feminist push. I think it's a feminist push to adopt more masculine or male mentality. You know,
No.
like the whole situationships, hookup culture, stuff like that. So that's why I think it's a growing amount of women. And that's why you see this where women are pushing back getting married for later years because they want to adopt a more male like mindset. Have fun in your young age, have more partners, in your years. So
See, I don't like it. I don't see. That's the thing. I know there's like multiple waves of feminism, right? To me, feminism just means like you have, the, you know, you just have the, just bodily autonomy. You could do whatever you want. That doesn't mean that you should do it. Just because, oh yeah, you have the freedom, you can sleep around with, a lot of men, doesn't mean you should.
mm-hmm.
It's just that, yeah, you can decide, if you're an adult and you could consent, you know, um, like no one should tell you, who to sleep with, who not to sleep with. You should be able to make that choice, on your own. So I don't know um, um, if feminism is pushing women to, to sleep around as many men as possible. I don't think so. I think feminism is just all about you deciding to do what you want, you having control of your future, of your
Let me.
life.
I want to explain something, right? I want to clarify this on this channel, right? When it comes to me, uh,
Hmm.
first wave feminism, fine. I agree, right? Women having equal rights, great. I'm not. I would never say I wish that disappeared. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, but I believe that's been accomplished. That has been accomplished for years, if not decades. And so that's why when I say feminism, I don't mean that because, in my opinion, it's also why I say that I believe feminism is pointless because today, I'm talking about today. I usually talking about today, right? So I'm not talking about like 50, 60 years ago, right? Why I say feminism pointless is that it is, in my opinion, 100% true that men and women are as equal as possible legally. Legally, men and women are as equally as possible, and that is why I don't stand on, or like I don't really, promote feminism, because again, that mindset of equality, great. It's already within our system, right? Equality is already within our system. So that's why I view it a little bit differently. And that's why when I talk about feminism, I talk about it in a different kind of light, because I believe feminism today is what I usually talk about in my videos, right? I do believe feminism is, in my opinion, isn't about equality anymore, because again, it's already been accomplished. Equality has already, in my opinion, equality has already been accomplished. It is about power. As a power either in the government, society, or in the individual level. So one of the things is power is the sexual revolution, where women are promoting each other to have fun in your younger years, have as many partners as you can, or whatever. Have fun in your later years. Either don't get married or get married late into your life, right? Or in when you're closer to 40, whatever. That's why I believe feminine. And again, I've talked about what I believe feminism today is multiple times on my channel. And that's what I'm talking about when I say feminism. I don't mean feminism as the equality part.
I got you.
Yeah. Big Bards, what is up, my brother? Thank you for being here. I love you.
What's up with you, man? I love you too, man. Nice to talk to everybody. But I think the issue is with that feminism is like 4 or 5 waves of it. And when we say just like you just said, when we say feminism, we're talking about 4th, 5th wave, third, maybe a little bit of third, the end of third, 4th, 5th wave. That's what we're talking about. And the female, what's your name? Like, start with Z?
Zarax.
Zarax. I think she's like talking about maybe first wave.
Yeah.
Like her mindset is like focused on first wave, and we're not talking about first wave. We're talking about 4th wave, really, mainly. We're talking about 4th wave. We're talking about how you can, if you look at all the TV shows, all the media, which is propaganda, all the propaganda that's going on these days, it's man hating. It's telling women to have as many sexual partners as possible. It's really everything that promotes family is anti-family. And I think that's just like a thing we need to see when we're talking to people who are saying, like this. I'm sorry, I can't get your name. Like when we're talking to the female who is seen, a sane female, we have to be particular and say that, look, we're talking about 4th wave feminism. We're talking about housewives of Atlanta. We're talking about all this crazy stuff that's going on. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about first wave suffrage. We're not talking about treating females like humans. We're not talking about that. That we're okay with that. We support that. We support that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 4th wave. We're talking
I
about
understand.
man
I got you.
hating. I just think we need to kind of say that,
Yeah.
because I think we're kind of fighting over tomato and tomato with apples to oranges, really.
And that's why that's why I always want to say that I don't hate women, right? I to be honest, I think women are like, I said this before, like my sister, who was like, I'm more emotional than her, right? I have more feminine tendency than her, because she's more analytical. And so I think women are definitely amazing. Again, because that's why I want to clarify that when I talk about feminism, it's not about, I wish women don't have equal rights. No, it's just that it's not about equal rights anymore.
There, as far as I know, there's only been 3 waves of feminism. The first wave is equal rights. The second wave is birth control, like in the 70s. And the third wave is intersectionality and trans.
I don't know about this is why I don't really talk about waves. I talk about modern. I just say that modern feminism.
There's three waves of feminism. The third one is where women really screwed themselves, where they accepted trans women into the fold.
Yeah.
So there's
Man,
three
I think
waves
you're
of
skipping
feminism.
one. It's like I think you're skipping one. We're talking about a sexual revolution too. You know,
Right.
that is a form.
That's the second wave. That's the second wave feminism. The first wave is the suffragettes and equal and voting rights and all that stuff that took place in the 1800s. The second wave feminism took place in the 70s with the birth control pill and sexual harassment and all that stuff. And then the third wave is the troubling part, where women kind of is intersectionality, sexual identity, where feminists said that gender is fluid. So that's where women really screwed themselves, because they accept trans women as women. So that's where you have all these battles about all these second wave feminists, like second wave. You have second wave feminists battling third wave feminists because they don't accept trans women as women.
Yes.
There's three waves of feminism.
All right.
So, X-rays. Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No, because it's a man wanting to be a woman, but then like if he dresses, if he transitions and stuff, and he wants to be referred as a woman, like I don't have a problem with that, but don't say that you are born, female when you're not. Mhm.
Right. So you're a second wave. You're probably a second wave feminist.
Yes.
Right. So all these people, like, there's a battle between second wave feminists and third wave feminists. I mean, first wave feminism, there's no one alive that everyone in the world believes. Well, everyone in the Western world believes in first wave feminism. We believe that women are equal. They get the vote and all that stuff. So that's settled. It's and even second wave feminism it's not great, but the problem is third wave feminism. That's where you get all these nutty people. I mean, they're crazy, pushing all this weird. I mean, even in second wave feminism, there was traditional families. Even a second wave feminist believed in traditional families. She just wanted to go get a job at IBM. It's the third wave that really screwed us up.
Yeah.
That makes them no longer function well. The other is declining birth rates. That if you have too many women too dedicated to their careers or engaged in other activities, and so that they're not having kids, that too can cause the end of your civilization. So it's but I feel like there are a lot of people working on the birth rate stuff. But it's not a coincidence, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that these two problems have arisen at the same time, because they are both connected to the same phenomenon. It is a phenomenon that, like I said before, is one that no human civilization in history has ever faced. So it's not surprising that it would yield huge unprecedented problems. I think the falling birth rate is one of them.
Well, and also as well, we have to look at universities when it comes to this, because there's a lot of women who go into university, and men, and they effectively serve as indoctrination camps. I have friends and I know people who went to Ivy League universities in this country, and what they tell me about the first couple of weeks, I'm going like, this isn't a place of education. You have to stand up and say how you've been oppressed. And that is one very prestigious university in this country where everybody in a class stood up and had to identify how they are oppressed and why it affected them. And you're going, what has this got to do with psychology?
Oh, yeah, you don't have to tell me. The first really famous woke video of the girl yelling at her college master in the courtyard because of the Halloween email. Like, the master's wife had sent out an email saying, everybody, Halloween is coming up. Let's be chill about cultural appropriation. If you see a white girl wearing a sari, don't freak out. And a bunch of people said, that's really offensive.
A bunch of people freaked out.
And it culminated in a screaming match because the master of the college told people to, come out and let's talk it over. And one girl just had a shrieking meltdown. Dropped a lot of F-bombs, which I think is not appropriate to do in that situation.
The exception is because other people have rights too, not just you.
Walk away. Listen, that doesn't deserve to be listened to. One thing, be here. Be quiet. For all humans, you understand that? As your decision as master, it is your job to create a place of comfort and home for the students that live in Silliman. You have not done that. By sending out that email, that goes against your position as master. Do you understand that?
No, I don't agree with that.
Then why the fuck did you accept the position?
Because
Who the fuck hired you?
I have a different
You
vision.
should step down. If that is what you think about being a master, you should step down. It is not about creating an intellectual space. It is not. Do you understand that? It's about creating a home here. You are not doing that.
You're supposed to be our advocate.
You should be at this event last night when you hear her front row say that she doesn't know how to create a safe space for her freshmen in Silliman. How do you explain that? These freshmen come here, they think this is what Yale is? You hear that? They're going to leave. They're going to transfer because you are a poor student of the community. You should not sleep at night. We're out. You are disgusting.
But the reason why that video stuck in my mind was not just that it was one of the first.
It's odd that I'm not trying to be racist, Big Bears, but it's odd that a lot of black women nowadays they'll dye their hair, blonde, and straighten their hair, and not think that that's cultural, and they'll think, well, that's okay, but that's culture, or orange, that's cultural appropriation.
For me,
orange hair is Celtic, right?
I think this is the issue where, like I said, this is why I'm not against feminism. What feminism is, right? It's equality. But I believe today we don't have that problem, so we create other problems. That is why I'm tired of it. We're trying to find problems to stress about, to complain about, right? Because here that was a clip of one man trying to be culturally sensitive, but being culturally sensitive, right? It's because you're going to eat each other. It's just you're going to eat each other up because it looks like that.
I bet he was a hippie in the 1970s, and that's probably how he got his job. But he's that guy is actually pretty smart. I think he resigned from Harvard. I think he has a podcast now.
First sort of inaugural salvos of the woke era, but because you could see my old college room in the background. I was like, I walked across that courtyard. That's my courtyard. Stop desecrating it.
No, absolutely. Personally. Yeah, no, absolutely. But I also feel like, we talk about feminization. We really have to look at the universities, because if you pump this doctrine, this ideology into people's heads, and then they go out and then spread the ideology, you have to take responsibility. We need to look at universities.
Helen, you're pulling faces, destroying with facts and logic. In a more masculine way. Yeah. Don't care about consensus or his feelings.
Yeah, I feel that. No. The reason why I disagree is that I don't think wokeness is an ideology. And the reason why it's important to emphasize that is because if it's an ideology, the way we get rid of it is by having better arguments. But if wokeness is an inevitable result of demographic feminization, if any organization or institution that has a critical mass of women is going to behave this way, no matter what their ideology is, if that's the case, then we really can't trust that wokeness is over or will recede naturally or that better arguments will win the day. And I see a lot of people now feel like, okay, the insanity of 2020 is over. People are no longer getting canceled left and right. Maybe the vibe shift is here and wokeness is over. And I think that is premature. I think it is going to be more resilient than that, because it is connected to this demographic feminization.
Well, very much on that. I mean, I nearly made the joke that, you're saying we shouldn't get rid of the ideology, we should just get rid of the women. But I guess what I'm going to ask you is, once you've got this situation where you've encouraged so many women into the workplace, your argument is you've affirmative actioned them somewhat into the workplace. We now live in a society where even as a two-income couple, life is pretty hard, actually, in a way that it just wasn't for your grandparents in this country. Are you going to get the toothpaste back in the tube? Like, how do you even do that? Because as a young woman, you're not going to get married until your mid-30s, possibly, just because of the way the world is. You need to make a living. You need to have a career. It's no longer as much of an option to find a guy at 20, marry, be the homemaker, and let him, because like that guy's going to have to earn a hell of a lot of money just for you to live a lower class life. Forget about a middle class life, right?
The two-income trap is a serious problem.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of things unrelated to the gender question that we can do to address that. I think that reducing immigration would actually go a really long way to solving the two-income trap and reducing some of those massive cost of living pressures that couples face. But I have hope. I'm optimistic that the two-income trap problem can be solved through appropriate policies, because there are just so many forces of gravity pulling against it. Mm-hmm. Even now, when there are so many pressures for women to stay in the workforce, even when they have kids, even with all of those things, most women still tell surveys that they prefer to work part-time or to drop out of the workforce for a few years while their kids are young. So that's what women still want. And the women whose husbands do earn enough tend to do exactly that. Even really accomplished women, women with law degrees or medical degrees, most of them go part-time at some point in their careers when they choose to have children. So there really are a lot of deeply seated human forces of gravity pulling in the direction of the mode of family that we've had.
X-rays, are you married?
Yes, I am.
And have you been with him for a while?
Yes, 13 years.
Okay, and you're happy?
Yes, 13 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're a good woman, right? And you
I hope so.
You treat your man right. He's nice to you. You have kids, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a nice life, right?
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah. So are you? See, you're one of us. You're one of us that want men and women to be happy together and raise families.
Yes. I promote family. Yes.
Yeah. So I thought you were the enemy. You're one of us.
I want to say this, right? I do want to ask this, right? Like your thought, because this is women in general, right? Maybe women, and I kind of do want to say maybe more distinct, because I do believe maybe I'm being optimistic too, where internet women might be different than real life women, in the sense that maybe by your opinion, I mean, if you're on social media often, don't you see, like, if you've seen some of my videos, right? Don't you see there's a clear reason why men are more, I don't know, critical or have more issues with modern women, or particularly like a lot of women who are very vocal nowadays? Because you see how women are, you don't see the reasoning why men are, groups like these, like Redpill or Manosphere or whatever has popped up because of how women are today?
No, I do. A lot of men's concern are valid, and to me, but then like there are some arguments that men make that I feel are are invalid,
Hmm.
because because of what they see online, because men do this too. They see, a few women, few loud women, behaving this way. They seem to think that, majority of women are like that, and it's not. And so when I come up and, when I kind of make a case for women, I'm usually making the case for like the average woman, who
Hmm.
I consider myself like just like, yeah, an average woman.
Do you have sons and daughters, or just
Uh-huh.
one? You have son. Okay, you have a son, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if your son, he's probably quite young right now, but let's say when he's like in he's 18, and he
Hmm.
starts dating a woman, and you get bad vibes off him, but he wants to marry her and have kids with her.
Hmm.
Are you gonna tell him how women can kind of manipulate men?
Well, yes, of course.
Right. So you'll be protective of him, right?
Yes.
And if you'll tell him how some if he let's say he wants to get married, are you gonna tell him to get married right away? Are you gonna tell him,
No.
well,
Well, yes, I'll tell that. Well, I would advise him not to get married right away.
right,
To wait a while. Um, to get to know her before he marries her, of course.
right. So now you know that women divorce women uh, initiate divorce at a 60% rate, correct?
Right. Hmm.
And when men get divorced from women, they take 50% of their assets, men's assets, correct?
Um, Depending how long the marriage is, yes.
Right.
And if,
So
of course, and if they have custody of kids, yes.
right. So when raising your sons, just make sure that he marries. There are good women in the world. I mean, men don't deny that, but just make sure he marries the right woman. I mean, just make sure, because
Of
if you don't, he's gonna be miserable for the rest of his life.
like I understand that, and a lot of times when you know yeah, when the statistics is brought up that women initiate divorce, there's reasons for it. It's usually financial, fidelity or infidelity, and um, yeah, I think those are like the top two. And so if my son wasn't pulling his weight, and his wife um wants to leave him, I would understand, because my son's not, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, right?
But you don't want your son to be taken. You don't want your son to be screwed over by a woman he marries, right? So just tell him how some women can be, and make sure he marries the right woman. Okay, can you
No,
promise?
I get that, but
Yeah.
if he's, if the man is not doing his part, do you feel like a woman should just, you know, stay with him, or do you think it would it's right for her to leave him because he's not pulling his weight?
Well, let me say this, right. I want to
Hmm.
give a little bit clear distinction. Lack of emotional connection is number one, right? Number one reason for divorce. It's not financial nor it's abuse. Now, of course, cheating and finances is top there, right? Top five, but lack of emotional connection. And in my opinion, right, your husband not doing thing, I agree, right? If he's not doing it, then yes. But in my opinion, again, this is his opinion. Um, at the end of the day, we choose our partners. Okay, in my opinion, uh, I personally don't believe that men or people in general do a 360. Okay, I don't believe, and if they do, I believe it's rare. So if a man is not holding his weight, he wasn't holding his weight to begin with. I don't believe a man just like, oh, he was holding his weight for like 10, 20 years, and all of a sudden he stopped. I don't believe that is true. in general, I don't believe it's true. I believe it's more of a cop out for women, where they would say that because one, it's either you pick wrong and you want to just say that he's not holding his weight, so you can just blame it on that, or two, that it's true that I think, in my opinion, women just either find other reasons why they don't want to be with him, but it will make them look bad. So they use that, he's not pulling his weight, or, it's deflection, in my opinion, right? I believe that, in my opinion, the majority of the time is that women just fall out of love. They fall out of love with the person for whatever reason. And I don't necessarily believe it's for like bad reasons, but they fall out of love with the man. So I
Well,
believe
that's because the man, typically, once the man would chase the women, right? And once he nails down that woman, then he stops being, he stops sort of chasing them. He stops being like romantic stuff. He's just, he just goes to work, comes home, and then, you know,
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, I
he
couldn't agree.
becomes like a dull person.
I like that you brought it up.
Dull. Well, why is that a bad thing? I mean, I'm boring and dull, but when I became kind of wealthy in my mid 40s, I was really leery of getting married because I knew that women would just they just divorce me and take half my assets. I'd rather throw it in the I'd rather throw all my money in the gutter than give it to a woman who cheated on me and just took me to the cleaners.
I want to say this.
I'm dull.
I do want to say this, right? I kind of agree. I kind of see that, but here's my little theory, right? To counteract what Zyrax said, right? This is my kind of theory that I've been building up, right? I kind of agree, or my theory is to kind of explain it. I believe there's a problem with dating, and this is the problem. We put so much pressure on men to impress women at the beginning, okay? We put so much pressure on men to plan dates, wine and dine women. Like men, in my opinion, right? Men give 100 at the beginning of the dating, beginning of the relationship. Men put 100. Women generally, in my opinion, put 0 to, let's say, 40%. Okay. Men, and again, I'm saying that I'm against this, right? I'm saying I'm against this because I always say that, what you get at the beginning is what you're going to get at the end. But how dating is nowadays, plus, like I said, society put a lot of pressure on men. Men put all of his energy at the beginning, right? All of his energy. So now that once he gets her, he takes a step back because throughout the whole beginning of the relationship, women practically put very little. So in men's minds, like, okay, I put 100. Now that I got you, I'm going to take a step back. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that I think this is the problem in dating where, okay, now that he has her, he expects or hope that now she's going to put 100 while he can take a rest, take it easy and more. I think that's the problem what we created in the dating dynamic. Now I'm seeing a little bit different where, we're trying to go 50-50, but women are fighting that. But I believe that's why a lot of marriages fail, or the purpose ideology because of it. This is a little theory, like I said, I brought, where because I believe men put 100%, women put very little effort in the beginning. Now that he got her, he expects her to put 100% while he puts very little. So I think that's kind of my little theory about that.
But, the odd thing is, although I'm a dull and boring person, if I'd married in my let's say after I got back from my when I was quite when I was making my wealth, I would always have taken care of my wife, like my dad did, because I'm like my dad. So I would have just I would have made sure that her my retirement included her and made sure she had health benefits, and I would have treated her nice, but I couldn't afford a woman taking half my ass, just taking half my ass, cheating on me, and taking half my assets.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but
Yeah.
dull dull and boring, but dull and boring men, X-Rax, they'll treat you right if you pick the right man. They might be
I'm not
dull.
saying no, I'm not saying as if like, the men are dull. I'm talking about the relationship becomes dull. Not the man per se. Because obviously you weren't dull because you were able to, chase and you were able to, down the, you were able to secure the girl, right? The chick. So
No,
obviously you're not dull.
I'm not a player. I'm a dull and boring person.
Oh, stop. No,
I do see this. There are some
we are
studies.
all interesting. We are all unique and we're all interesting.
No, I think there is thing where there's some studies that women do get bored in relationships quicker than men, but that's
Yes,
my.
our attention span is, yeah.
But I think
I'm
it's
not gonna
also.
lie about that. Yes.
But I think that's the problem, right? In the sense that it shouldn't
Actually,
matter.
you better not ever divorce your husband, or else I'm gonna be really mad.
No, my husband, he's a good provider. He's a good father.
So
Yeah.
my thing is, so why did you in your situation,
Mhm.
you have a good situation going, but if you automatically jump from the if your son will be getting a divorce, it will be his fault. I don't understand that, and I think it's a female accountability issue. Honestly, I really do. And one more thing that I think that if a woman can get the money now, why would she wait until she's old to get the money? Like that's like I think that's the what's going on actually. That instead of get waiting until the end of their life to be taken care of and being taken care of in the meantime to somebody else's standard, they're just leaving and taking the money and they can live and have the money to their standards now.
But women aren't, the majority of women that are divorcing their husbands, they're not getting rich off of divorcing and we're talking about
What?
average people here. I'm not talking about celebrities who has like, money, right? I'm talking about us average people. We're not, women aren't getting rich, off of
Right,
divorcing their husband. And they're
right,
not,
but
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. Yes, they're not getting rich, but getting rich and working and your money being your money is a difference, like so say you're working and your checks are going to you because the money that you do get from divorce are taking care of the children and taking care of the house at least. That's not rich, but that's like, basically getting taken care of, That yeah, I think that has to be, people always want to jump to, oh, well, they're not getting rich. Okay, fine, they're not getting rich, but they get to keep their own money and their children and their household is taken care of.
Big, big, big. There's you did make a big. You noticed something that I noticed with X-rays when I had that that anecdote about her son getting divorced, and she kind of was against her son, and I was thinking a lot of women do that. It's crazy.
Sisterhood over everything. I think that's like really
Well,
the issue.
because I'm fair. It's not about, just because it's my son, I'm gonna be fair because that's just how I view things. Like,
No, don't
well,
be
whether I'm
fair.
related to, I'm gonna
No,
be,
no, don't be fair. Your son is your
see,
son. This is a woman that's trying to take advantage of your son. Don't take her side. Take your son's side. Unless he's a
no, I'm not, no, I'm not
unless he
taking her
raised
side.
a
I'm not
psychopath.
taking. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Your son is your son. Look out for your son. Don't take your son's wife's side and say, "Oh, you don't bring your son into your living room and say, 'Son, you failed your wife.'" Take your son's
No,
side.
no, I'm saying if he didn't. No, I'm not taking. It's not so much as I'm taking a side. I'm saying if my son is not pulling his weight.
No.
I'm saying if.
Don't take the
Now,
woman's
if
side
he
at
is,
all. No, don't take unless you're raising a psychopath. Your son is your son. Take his side. The woman is gonna be wrong. You know that.
Well, here, let me. I'm going to say this. I'm maybe I'm going to be biased, right? I'd rather take the side that's right. I don't
yeah,
really.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So for me personally, yes, I wouldn't just. I think it's dangerous to just to blindly take sides.
But at least take your if you're gonna take sides, give your son 70% and his ex-wife 30%. Well, 60. Give your son 60 and his ex-wife 40. How about that? Take your son's side. He's your son.
I don't really think it's about even picking sides. It's about don't automatically jump towards you. It just
Right.
seemed like to
Yep.
me. It seemed like to me
Yeah.
that you jumped automatically to
Yeah.
your son's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. And I think if you take that out of the picture and you actually look at the thing, if you actually look at it and see what's really going on, and you pick whichever side is right, like DA said, pick whatever side is right. That works better than just picking a woman's side because you're a woman. What it seems like what's kind of happening, just in general. It just seems
no,
like what's
because
happening.
no, because I would
Very
say the same
diplomatic.
thing for my daughters. Like if my daughters, are leaving, they want to leave their husbands because, oh, they're bored or, they just want to take half a shit. Like I would not be on that side at all. I would, tell my daughters, no, like you're not about to do this. Just because, you have a change of heart or whatever, right? If he's going his way and stuff, yeah, you're not about to screw someone's life just because, you want to date somebody else. No, like I'm just on the side of what's fair and what's right. So it's not so much as like I'm not choosing my son's side. I'm just saying if, like, you know, like if my son's not pulling the weight, but if my son is pulling the weight, then of course I will knock that chick down. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm just on the side of what's right and what's fair.
Okay. All right, let's continue for a little bit.
The two-income trap does make it harder, but I think if we make it even just a little bit easier, people will gravitate to the older, better model.
That's really interesting. The one area of so all of the things we've talked about so far, you're an expert in and we're not. The one area that you talked about that we sort of do know from the inside out is media. And that's where I thought, with all possible respect, of course, that there was the most controversial claims that you made, actually, because one of the arguments you made is, and you've kind of described it already in the course of this conversation, which is about the fact that a more male institution is much more focused on the pursuit of truth, even if that means there's conflict, people are offended and upset. And I go, well, look at the kind of world that we're in. We're in new media, we're on YouTube, we're in podcasting. Almost all of the people who do that are male. I go, I'm not certain that that is become an environment where the pursuit of truth is the primary goal. It seems to me that the pursuit of clicks, the pursuit of controversy, the pursuit of fighting has become the primary goal. Pursuit of truth seems to me quite secondary. So is it really true to say that, the more masculinized institutions of media are much more focused on truth than the more feminized version of it? The news doesn't just tell you what's happening.
Her anecdote of her own career in media. She said, that she's been to policy dinners in BC where journalists and practitioners get together. And she's been to some all-female ones, deliberately all-female, to help the ladies advance their careers. And she says the atmosphere is so different because at those all-female dinners, when you ask somebody a question, you do that with the purpose of getting an answer and hearing what it is. If you're at a mixed policy dinner one where men are present, you ask a question to prove that you're smarter than the person you're asking the question of. And so it is clearly true that I do not mean to lionize or paint a rosy picture of masculine modes of interaction. They are certainly not always oriented towards the pursuit of truth. But our institutions have evolved to turn male stupidity and competitiveness and silliness. I have 3 boys. I deal with it a lot. To turn that into, to channel that towards the pursuit of truth. So even if you are at one of the mixed policy dinners that Megan McArdle was talking about, and it's a lot of people trying to show that they're smarter than the other people at the end of the table, everybody else in the room learns a lot. You know, the fact that you're trying to do that kind of one-upsmanship tends to lead to a good conversation and to advance.
Happy New Year's, everyone. Happy New Year's. I got to say this, right? Thank you, everyone, for thinking to, being here. You guys are amazing, right? I just, like, I said this before, like, I'm a nobody, but it's like, you guys even wasting your time here with me is like, it shows how much it means a lot to me. Okay, it means a lot to me. You guys don't understand how much it means to me, right? But this is why I've always say that I love you guys, because I mean it. I truly do. It's not just like for the hell of it, because you guys. I say this story a lot, but it's because it's meaningful to me. Where, before I made the channel, I was in a dark place. After making it, you guys, this channel, the people on it, has pushed me to do better, pushed me to, be more content, be more happy. So that's why, again, my New Year's resolution is to keep grinding, keep supporting, keep, just keep hanging out with you guys. So I love you guys. Yes, I wish everyone who's watching prosperity, happiness, continue living, continue being your best. I love you guys, right? I do. I can't say it enough. You guys are all amazing. So thank you. Thank you very much, right? Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having us. And Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year to everyone here.
Happy New Year's.
I love you. I love you.
It's odd. There was this guy I follow. He did his live streams, and I was so engrossed in this channel. I was seeing if he would come on tonight because he just got off work, and I missed him because I was on this channel. It's very sad.
Still, thank you guys. Thank you, everyone. Right? I love you guys. I love you guys. Right?
Well, happy that you're here with us.
Exposed wires.
Let's continue a little bit more.
Papers next to a hot plate. Oh, I could tell you. There, what about your fire stair?
With greater celerity than the all-female policy dinners, which I've also been at, which do tend to move really slow because there's a lot of compliments and telling each other how great they are. Nothing against it. I love compliments, but it does take up a lot of time.
And what moving on.
No, hold on. Sorry to interrupt, but can we come back to this point about media? Because the broadcast scene, I just genuinely don't think, with all respect to our fellow YouTubers and podcasters, has created an environment that is more focused on the pursuit of truth. And that, to me, is kind of the big issue with the argument you're making. Do you have anything to say on that aspect of it?
I mean, I'm not sure that the purpose of a podcast is always just the pursuit of truth, right? At a certain level, it's also about entertainment. It's also about growing your audience. I've worked at a lot of publications where you have meetings and sit down and ask basic questions like, what is our purpose? And truth is a part of it, and one that you always want to keep front and center, but I'm not sure it's the only thing. But I guess my real response is that there are definitely masculine modes of failure as well. So it is very possible for institutions to fail in distinctively masculine ways that they would not have failed if there had been more ladies in the room. But when I look at the world around me today, I don't see a lot of institutions failing in that way. I do see a lot of institutions failing in distinctly feminine ways.
And would you say particularly a good example of this might be something like Disney, for instance, where they produce, you produce content that, shall we say, is hyper liberal, progressive, woke, whatever way you want to describe it. No one wants to watch it, and is everybody's like, why is there a trans person in my Star Wars movie?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have sort of masculine coded stories of adventure and things like that.
Because to me, the thing that I found surprising as somebody who loves movies, loves series, not particularly a huge Star Wars fan, what I couldn't understand is again and again, why are you producing content that the hardcore of your fan base won't like? That to me seems like glorified economic financial suicide.
I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I have heard that I have heard that feedback from people I know who do love Star Wars. It's a boy franchise. Why are you making a girl movie in your boy franchise? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. So it isn't just Star Wars, but I guess the thing that I kind of wanted to drill down upon is we've talked about the peak of woke. Do you think that we've now coming to the end of it, or do you think that it will always remain there latent because of this feminization process that you've described?
Yeah, I'm worried that it will still be there. That it's only a matter of time before somebody whips up another moral outrage that we all have to be hysterical about. Because the way that we neutralize those kinds of mass hysteria episodes is by talking about them rationally. And if we don't do that anymore, then we're not going to be able to neutralize them.
But it's also as well, and Constantine touched on it with his argument about with the podcast scene, which is basically people respond to incentives. Social media also rewards people who make histrionic, overblown, ridiculous arguments because they create the most engagement.
Yeah. And I'm worried about that. And I think there are things we can do in the meantime, right? Like I think universities today are very feminized. I think that is maybe a long-term threat to their viability as institutions of the pursuit of truth. But we're not going to turn that ship around in the next 5 years. So what can we do in the immediate future? I think interim steps are always a good idea. You can have statements of academic freedom. I think definitely schools should try and put those in place now so that the next time wokeness rolls around, we have tools in place to shut it down. But I think that as long as institutions remain feminized, you're still going to have the threat will still be there.
And your treatment plan would be to end affirmative action and retain the idea that we shouldn't discriminate against people, but assess that on the basis of whether someone's actually been discriminated against, as opposed to the number of women you have at your company.
That's right. Although in some cases that might not be sufficient medicine. I think one of the most compelling pieces of evidence to me that the great feminization is not entirely natural. It's not just a product of women have now had a chance to compete, and it turns out they're better at everything. It's not just a natural result of women out-competing men, which is something that a lot of feminists say, right? They say, well, why is your newsroom full of ladies? Because ladies are great journalists. I don't know what to tell you. The piece of evidence that persuaded me that that's not what's going on is the way institutions tend to become more and more feminized with the passage of time. If it were just a matter of women outcompeting men, you would expect institutions to reach 50-50 gender parity and then roughly stay there, if you assume that talent is equally distributed. But instead, we see that institutions that reach 50% women tend to then become 52, 55, 56. The one institution that's way far out at the end of that process is psychology, the field of psychology. 3/4 of graduate students in psychology now are women. It is an extremely feminized field. And we see that over and over in other institutions as well, although usually not so far advanced. As fields become feminized, what it looks like to me is they become distinctly unwelcoming to men. Because if you're a man and you're interested in psychology, maybe you're interested in particular branches of psychology that tend to appeal to the male mind.
I want to end with this, what she just kind of talked about, right? So I want to end with this kind of point. I would love to know what Zyrock's thought is, that this is the thing where this is why I think is the importance of men's content, at least the manosphere stuff, right? Although it's not like I'm saying it's completely great or anything, but in essence that as women are, gaining power, they are becoming the what would I call it? The perpetrators, the abusers themselves. I.e., like she says, where women are trying to create today, modern day women, modern day feminism, modern day feminists are trying to create spaces or a society unwelcoming to men. Okay, they are promoting it in that way. You're seeing this, yeah. I've said this where I think women are trying to ruin male hobbies, right? Men hobbies, right? Gaming, like Marvel movies, like Steve was saying, which don't get me started on the Marvel movies things. All these kind of male dominated hobbies where women are trying to usurp it or just, bring in these kind of mindsets. And again, this is why I think men are speaking out about it or critical about modern day feminism or modern day women. They're creating spaces that essentially is turning women into the men that they hate, where they're trying to push down men, insult men, put down men and stuff like that. I'm seeing more and more of that through media. So,
Hey, X-rays. Do you have long hair?
Do I have what?
Long hair.
No, my hair's not natural blonde.
No, long. Is your hair
Oh,
long?
long? No, it's short. Well, it's up to my shoulder, so you could say maybe middle,
That's
like
pretty long.
medium.
Never
Oh,
cut your hair really short. Men like long hair.
she's already married, so it really doesn't matter.
I know, but your husband will like it. Stay married. Never cut. Never. What I'm saying. Don't never look like a man.
I think she's been there. She's been with him for 13 years. I think she's got it down.
But your husband will like it if your hair is long.
yes, he has said that before.
But what do you think? What do you think I've been talking about? Or kind of what she's saying, where I think women are trying to push men out.
Yeah, I do. Women that have that kind of them, I don't want to say mentality, but why they feel that way is because they feel like they're, for the most part, because men have always, dominated, of course, every industry, right? And because they feel like men aren't welcoming towards women, and so therefore, when they get into power, they feel this, need to be to do this like revenge thing, like, well, you weren't nice to me, so now I'm in power, I'm gonna be mean to you too. So that way you know how it feels. Now I don't, I'm not for that. Even though like women for the most part, yeah, they have been women have been, you know, have been looked at as like weaker. I'm not talking about physically because women are, weaker physically, but I'm talking about, um, when it comes to intelligence, men always look, men have always looked down on women, saying women are stupid, women talk too much, women, can't do this and do that. So women have been discriminated, right?
Well,
And I'm sorry.
men don't think women are stupid, but we do think you talk too much. But in every occupation I've been in where it was male dominated, the
Mhm.
men always tried to help the women, and they try.
Yeah, I'm not saying that
And
all men are, yeah, I'm not saying all men think like that. Of course, not all men think like that, but I'm just saying throughout history, men have sort of like looked down on women. Now, in of course, today's time, it's not from what what I've seen. No, men have been helpful and been welcoming, welcoming. But it's just some women still holds like some sort of grudge. And like I said, I'm not for that. I don't think women should do that. I don't think women should go, well, now that we have power, we're gonna kick men down. No, we need men. Period. We need men. Top,
Now,
bottom, middle. Yeah, we need men. So we can't be treating, men like shit, and men can't be treating women like shit too.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. Okay, that's good. I mean, I think that's. I just love listening to it. I just love hearing each other's opinions. So I think that's it for tonight, right? I don't want to.
Can I ask? So this, I was waiting for this guy to come on stream because I was talking to him all day about broasted chicken. Has anyone here had broasted chicken?
Never even heard of it.
It's a process where it's deep frying and pressure cooking chicken. And I'm not really a fan of chicken, but I'm a fan of this broasted chicken. So I was talking to him all day about it, and then I missed his stream. So I'm kind of sad because I wanted to talk about broasted chicken.
But let me. Can you mind if I just say something real quick? I think this is just what we're talking about is what she was just talking about is what I would say is a reason for sane women to fight against the sisterhood because it's like a hierarchy. It's a hierarchy. You got maybe some man hating women at the top that are promoting propaganda and everything and making they're in a position to treat men like whatever they want to and everything. And as long as you have women who are going along with it just because other women are doing it, things are going to be messed up, in my opinion. As long as you have, these sane regular women going along with the policies of these man hating women, it's going to be a problem. And honestly, I don't see that I see it more on the woman's side than I do on the man's side. That's just what I see. I see it more on the woman's side than I do on the man's side. And I think that sane women need to not go along with the sisterhood. They need to go along with what's right. And that's what I was saying earlier with the divorcing your son getting a divorce thing. It's like it never should be the first thing you think of is that your son is wrong. That's just going with the sisterhood. It's like look at every case by case situation. That's just how I feel about it. It's like we need to go both sides need to go by case by case. Like I said, I think it's partly a female accountability thing there where women want to be treated like the ruler and a child at the same time, and you can't have it both ways. It has to be accountability. It has to be accountability. It has to be accountability, and I think that's kind of like an issue, along with the fact that a lot of women are just going along with the show because whoever is creating the policies is a woman, and you gotta go for was right and and I would on some reason. One more thing, what she was talking about with the podcast, and she said she don't really think it's about truth. I would say it's true because some people care more about analytics than they do about the truth. Some people do, but I think that's just like a push to people like us. We need to come in and be more about the truth. That's what needs to happen. I agree with her, but then I say that is something that could be corrected quite easily. People who are sane and want the best for other people tend to be quiet, and we need to stop being quiet. We need to stop letting these man haters run wild. We need to stop letting these people who are not about truth, rule. We need to stop it. I mean, I know we want to just sit back and just let everybody, live their life, but in some way, we have to control society. Point blank and period. That's what how this DA. This is how I feel. We need to step up and control society and not let this craziness continue. It's like we
I
have to
agree.
care more about what's right than analytics.
Big
As
Bears,
long as we
you are right. Not only do women have economic power because they control the pocketbook, like they spend 50 to 55%, but they're also 53% of the electorate. So if men can't pass laws anymore to change society, only sane women can.
Yes, but you know what I think? Honestly, I think it's more than just the issues that we might be looking at. It's they like Z said, we need like women need men and men need women. You know, and honestly, I personally think that if men on a regular, you know, you see happening now with dates and marriage, you know, with dates and marriage. You know, there are women that want to get married. There are women that want to be, you know, more traditional, and they're not going to get it because of these crazy women. And I think what has to
That's a
continue to
fact.
happen. That's what has to continue to happen. That you know, I mean, I hate to say it, men are checking out, and men need to check out because if we're not going to be appreciated, then we need to withdraw our support. Y'all can, you know, women can have the voting, they can be empowered when it comes to voting. They can be empowered when it comes to spending all they want to. But if they are not a team player, they're going to end up being in debt. They're going, and you know, certain things are going to happen. And said to say, we just might have to let them things happen. You know, that might be the part of just letting, you know, the world burn in a way. But we still have to be there to, you know, come in and fix stuff at the same time. You know, we can't let it, we can't let the world burn to the ground. In my point opinion. Now we're gonna have to let it burn a little bit, but we can't let it burn to the ground. That's just in my opinion.
No, I totally hear you, and I understand why men are checking out, men not wanting to get married, and that's why I feel like, yeah, women will have to make the case for marriage. Women will have to learn to make, a good case for marriage to get men to come back and want to marry them. And so, which is why before I was just like a regular watcher on YouTube, but because yeah, um, see what's going on, and that's why I chose to, yeah, like engage with people and hopefully make a good case for marriage.
I love it. I love it. Guys, I love it.
Anyone want to talk about roasted chicken?
I don't even know what that is. I mean, I've never had it, so
check out genuine roasted chicken. It's the best chicken.
Okay.
I'm not even a chicken fan, but I've become a chicken fan.
All right, guys, I think that's it for
tonight, everyone.
All right, thank you guys. All right, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys for being here. All right.
Good night and happy New Year's, everyone.
All right, I love you. Thank you, sister.
No problem.
Big Bars, my brother. Thank you for being here. I love you. All right, I do. You've been here you've been a great supporter. So I love you, my brother. Hope you have a good New Year's, my brother. All right, I love you. Guys, I can't say enough how much I love you guys, right? I do. You guys are so amazing. Big Bars. All right. Thank you for being here. All right. Thank you. Guys, I love you. All right. Good night. Have a good New Year's. You guys are amazing, right? So you guys strive to be your best, be happy, be content. Yeah, you guys are amazing.